imperative to us in helping us make sure we're running operations and really targeting these bad actors. Our Federal Protective Services and also our Border Patrol agents have come and been partners with us in an incredible way. They bring a skill set that has helped us have a whole of government approach under the Department of Homeland Security that has never happened before. The assets that they have and the willingness to do their jobs that this president has allowed them to do has been absolutely incredible. But what you see standing behind me too is also other federal partners that have come to the table that are here to bring safety and security to the city of Los Angeles. I want to specifically thank the Army. I want to thank the Marines, the National Guard, our soldiers, our military men and women who have shown up here to help make sure that we have security. Not only do they protect our country around the world, but they're doing it every single day here in the United States of America too, and doing it as service, public service to the people in this country because they took an oath to uphold the law. We also have a U.S. attorney here who has been aggressive, has been making sure that we don't pick winners and losers in this country, that the rule of law will be followed, and that people who break the law and perpetuate violence will be brought to justice. They will be prosecuted, and there will be consequences for that kind of activity. The Department of Justice is here and has a presence in our Incident Command Center, as well as the DEA, the FBI, and their investigative teams have been fantastic with their leadership. And we also have the IRS here that's helping us track how these violent protesters are funded, what NGOs out there, what unions, what other individuals may be funding these violent perpetuators that are in these protests that take people who may be wanting to come and be peaceful, but instead turn these into very violent activities that go after law enforcement. That's just simply not acceptable. And I also want to thank our U.S. Marshals. They've been so great in helping us to secure facilities, but also operations and also with transportation, that as soon as someone is arrested and brought into incarceration, that they are transported out and able to face prosecution and the consequences for their crimes. I want people to know that while these officers and these agencies and our military are here doing this work and these operations, that the people across this country are so grateful. They are so grateful for the work that is being done here in Los Angeles. They are setting an example for what is happening across the country in other cities and putting together a model and a blueprint for how we can continue to work to make every single community great again and safe again for our kids and for our grandkids far into the future. I've been in many different states with all the different components that I represent over the last 4 or 5 days. And everywhere I go, people stop me and say, tell everybody who's working in Los Angeles that is working to bring safety to those city streets and to those families and protect those small business, tell them thank you. Tell them God bless you, that I hope that they are safe and they have been suffering. The people that live here under the policies of Governor Newsom and under the policies of Mayor Bass, and they recognize that it's a huge disservice to the people who have to try to raise their families here, and that these agents and that these law enforcement officers are working to change that and give them an opportunity to be successful and to live the American dream. Listen, many officers have been assaulted over the last several days. We did see before that assaults against law enforcement and ICE officers go up over 400%. In this situation, we've seen that increase even more. It's not acceptable. If you assault a law enforcement officer, we are going to come after you and we are going to arrest you, prosecute you, and put you away. That is not going to work. And under this administration with President Trump's leadership, one person is not better than another. Just because you think you're here as a citizen or because you're a member of a certain group or you're not a citizen, it doesn't mean that you're going to be protected and not face consequences from the laws that this country stands for. We have a constitution. We follow that constitution and the laws that have been passed by our Congress, and we're going to make sure they are equally applied to every single person as it applies under the Constitution here in Los Angeles, but also across the country. As our law enforcement officers have been assaulted, they've been pelted with rocks and bricks. Their cars have been set on fire. Molotov cocktails have been used. We have seen people throw bottles and hammers at them. We've also seen that they have been attacked and verbally spit on or punched or assaulted, and it's just not acceptable. The Department of Homeland Security and the officers and the agencies and the departments and the military people that are working on this operation will continue to sustain and increase our operations in this city. We are not going away. We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this. Also, I want to talk specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles. I also want to talk about specifically how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted, and how their families have been put in jeopardy, and that we're not going to allow that anymore as well. That those individuals who are purposely endangering our ICE agents and our law enforcement officers and their families will be prosecuted for what they are doing as far as perpetuating violence on them. I want to know that the American people are grateful for our law enforcement officers. We will always respect them, and that President Trump is thankful for the leadership that has been shown by all of these agencies. In fact, President Trump did call in, and I did visit with him today, and he also visited with all of these agencies here this morning and thanked them for what they are doing to make sure that they are protecting the United States of America. The images that we've seen out of Los Angeles the last several days has simply been un-American by the protesters and the violence that we've seen perpetuated. Masked thugs are assaulting police officers. They're setting vehicles on fire. They're waving foreign flags on American soil while burning American flags. And they've damaged public property and destroyed private businesses. We need to make sure that we are continuing to protect the citizens that live here and want this community to be safe. Let me give you just a few examples of those who have been rioting that many politicians like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass are defending. There was a Vietnamese illegal alien who committed a mass shooting at a graduation party in 1994 that we've been able to take off the streets. A Filipino illegal alien that was convicted of an assault with intent to commit rape that we've been able to bring up into custody and incarceration. You see behind you some more profiles of individuals that have brought into custody through the operations we have here. A Mexican illegal alien convicted of willfully cruelty to a child, and on and on and on. Those individuals and those criminals are now off the streets of Los Angeles because of the activities that have been conducted here in the last several days and will continue to operate for days to come. When these riots first began on Friday night, a federal law enforcement building was surrounded by over 1,000 violent rioters, and it took Los Angeles Police Department 2 hours to respond. So we are going to continue to operate with our federal partners and continue to keep asking the governor and the mayor for their support and their backup in these operations to make sure that all of our law enforcement officers are protected while they do their work. We're going to protect American cities from lawlessness, and we'll do what it takes to put the American citizens first and make sure they have the opportunity to sleep safely in their beds at night. I just want to say, God bless all of our men and women of the military that serve, all of those who serve in our law enforcement agencies and in public service, that make great sacrifices away from their homes and from their families, but they do it because they believe in America and they believe in freedom and they believe in law and order. And that is what we are doing right here today and will continue to do for days to come until Los Angeles once again is at peace. So with that, we'll turn it over to our next speaker, which I believe will be Todd Lyons from ICE.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I'm Todd Lyons. I'm the acting ICE director. Also, I'm the National Incident Commander for the situation. But I would just like to say thank you to Secretary Noem. She said it best. There's really not much more I can say. It's without her leadership that we wouldn't be out here conducting this mission. President Trump fully has our back on this one, and we're doing the will of the American people. I want to thank the brave men and women of ICE, HSI, ERO, our attorneys with the Office of Public Legal Counsel, because without them, this would not be possible. They put their lives on the line every day. You also see my fellow agency heads here with me and many that are not up here on stage. The men and women of law enforcement have been putting themselves in harm's way every night since we've been here in Los Angeles. What we've done here is taken a whole of government approach for this immigration mission. You know, under the last administration, there was millions upon millions of people that we don't know who came into this country. They were let in that now have turned violent criminals. Also, we have known suspected terrorists and gang members. Since January 20th, we've been making arrests in Los Angeles and all around the country. But specifically, we've focused on gang members, human traffickers, violent drug dealers, and rapists. You know, the Secretary brought it up. You know, the rhetoric of a lot of elected officials and people, what really caused this. We've heard so much. If ICE had a criminal warrant, if ICE had a judicial warrant, cities would cooperate with us. On this past Friday, you saw that. You saw the men and women of ICE and these other DOJ partners executing a criminal warrant on a criminal immigration enforcement case. Yet the city turned against us and we had violent protesters. And that just won't happen because the men and women of ICE won't be deterred by this. We're going to be out there every day conducting our law enforcement mission. No protesters are going to block our way because the brave men and women of ICE and these DOJ partners you see up here, along with our partners with the Los Angeles Police Department, are going to ensure that we handle these protesters, but we are out there safely conducting these operations, and we will get the worst off the street. And I also like to thank the Department of Defense and National Guard who has come here to assist us on that. You know, we will prosecute all these cases. Just, you know, the Secretary highlighted so many, you see them up here. But we have a wanted man from Mexico who fled and hid in Los Angeles for killing a woman. You have an MS-13 gang member who killed 2 individuals during a botched catalytic converter theft ring case. These aren't the individuals you want in Los Angeles. These aren't the individuals you want in the United States. ICE is going to keep doing their job, and we're going to do it to our best of our ability with our DOJ partners. But with the Secretary's leadership and the full support of the U.S. Attorney to prosecute these criminals, we will continue enforcing the immigration mission that President Trump and the American people expect us to do. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the FBI.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. My name is Akil Davis. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of FBI Los Angeles. As you know, the FBI has been assisting the Department of Homeland Security with immigration enforcement since February. We're just one of many field offices doing this nationwide as directed by the Attorney General, and we're accustomed to providing investigative and technical assistance to law enforcement at all levels on a regular basis. We have agents embedded up with our operational teams with DHS. Our help vary depending on what DHS needs, and they let us know moment by moment. We have significant tactical resources across the enterprise here throughout our 7-county AOR to assist and support these efforts. That said, we find ourselves defending operations from violent offenders. The FBI safeguards constitutionally protected rights. We investigate civil rights violations on a daily basis, but some activity keeps taking place among righteous protesters is not civil. It's violent. We're going to investigate allegations of violence, whether it's assault on law enforcement officers or civilians, looting, arson, doxing, or damage to public property. So please, I'm asking the community, do not put your life in jeopardy by hurting someone or destroying property. You will be held accountable by the FBI, and it's not worth it. I'd like to highlight 2 cases for you to show what the FBI's line of effort is in this overall DHS-led operation. Elpidio Reyna is a fugitive. He is wanted for the alleged assault of a federal officer in the city of Paramount in California on June 7th, 2025. Reyna allegedly threw rocks at law enforcement vehicles on Alondra Boulevard in Paramount and injured a federal officer. Reyna is 40 years old, weighs around 165 pounds, and is 5'7". Reyna has a tattoo on his left arm with the word Carmen on it. We have photos of him on display. Reyna will be caught, and when he is, he will face a statutory maximum penalty of 8 years in prison. This is such a priority for the United States government that there is a reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to his arrest. Let me repeat that, $50,000 for information leading to his arrest. The second case I'd like to highlight is on a subject named Alejandro Oriana. Alejandro was providing masks and face shields to violent rioters throughout the week and was arrested by our SWAT teams this morning. With the success and appreciation and assistance from the United States Attorney's Office, that case is ongoing, but Oriana is in custody as we speak. If you have information or evidence of violent acts, please either call 1-800-CALL-FBI, visit tips.fbi.gov, or send images or video to our digital tip line at fbi.gov/LA office assault. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to Chief Bovino, United States Border Patrol. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. I'm Greg Bovino, Chief Patrol Agent of the El Centro Border Patrol Sector and Lead Federal Coordinator for Customs and Border Protection entities here in Los Angeles. Entities include U.S. Border Patrol, Office of Field Operations, and CBP Air and Marine. We have several hundred agents and officers here in Los Angeles right now as we speak. Our primary mission here in Los Angeles revolves around Title 8 United States Code. Let me say that again. Title 8 United States Code. Those are our immigration statutes. If you look behind us at these pictures on the wall, immigration's not a victimless crime. A lot of bad people, a lot of bad things are in our country now, including Los Angeles. For Customs and Border Protection, that's why we're here right now, is to remove those bad people and bad things, whether illegal aliens, drugs, or otherwise. We're here and we're not going away. Border Patrol, Office of Field Operations, and Air and Marine, you'll see us in Los Angeles. You'll continue to see us in Los Angeles, not going anywhere soon. As for the violence and the demonstrators, violence will not deter us, the CBP mission here in Los Angeles. I believe we saw that last Sunday night out at Paramount. We continued to conduct our patrols as we saw necessary in the middle of that riot. And we'll continue to do that from here on out. Our allied law enforcement agencies, many of whom you've already heard from, whether it's HSI, ERO, FBI, ATF, and all others, join with us as we conduct that Title 8 mission. Very historic. First time I've ever seen it in my almost 30-year career. It's actually breathtaking. Many millions of illegal aliens have passed across that border over the past several years. It's our job to get them out. And that's what we are going to do, and that's what we're doing right now. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kenny Cooper. I'm a Special Agent in Charge, ATF, LA Field Division. The Department of Justice will not be deterred from enforcing this nation's laws. ATF is on the ground doing what we do best, fighting violent crime and protecting our communities regardless of the environment around us. Our agents are trained to operate in high-threat, high-tension situations. When federal authorities move to execute court-authorized warrants, we support that mission with professionalism, precision, and resolve. ATF stands shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners in this whole of government approach. ATF stands also shoulder to shoulder, including to carry out our immigration enforcement mission. If a criminal threat intersects with that mission, we bring our full capacities to the table. Let's be clear, obstructing a lawful federal operation, especially through violence or threats, is not protective activity. It's a crime. And those who cross that line will be held to account. We don't get to pick and choose when to enforce the law. Our job is to uphold it, always. ATF will continue to pursue violent offenders, support our partners, and keep doing the hard work this public demands. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bill Saley, the United States Attorney for the Central District of California. On behalf of my office and the Department of Justice, I'm here to show our support and our collaboration with the Department of Homeland Security in their mission to protect the American people and to do immigration enforcement operations, specifically at targeted known criminals, which is the primary focus of most of our missions to date. I want to also thank the National Guard and the military. We had judicial warrants to do what we did on both Friday and Saturday. And the amount of resistance and organized agitators that showed up to try to impede us was overwhelming. And we're really grateful to the president for deploying the Guard, which allowed us to continue our mission undeterred, to enforce the law and to keep our people and our buildings safe. And that's really important. And my office has been aggressive in bringing charges. We charged several people over the weekend who dared to assault our agents. They threw rocks, they threw stones, they were breaking up concrete. It was out of control and it was violent. And some people in the state of California have been conditioned to think that there's no consequences for criminal activity. And you know, that might be true for the state of California, but it's not true with the federal government. And we will bring charges and you will go to federal prison. This is the federal government. This is not the state government. As the president said, if you spit, we hit, and we'll hit you with a felony. And we're committed to that. We're continuing to conduct, we're looking at hundreds of suspects. We're collecting media, social media, videos. We'll be combing over that stuff for weeks and months with the FBI. And just because you think you got away with something over the weekend, think again. In a few months from now, you could get a knock at your door. So anyone who's thinking about showing up to these protests to commit violence, I really caution you to think again. It's not worth it. We charged 2 individuals yesterday with throwing Molotov cocktails at police officers. That is extremely dangerous and could lead to death. They're now looking at explosive charges charged by the federal government and more charges to come. So I just want to reiterate that we will be aggressive, we will be filing, and we will be swift in our deliverance of justice. And I want to thank our partners at the FBI and the ATF and DHS and all our agencies for their hard work. It has not been easy. They've been working around the clock, but they're undeterred. And I can tell you, speaking to them, they're more committed than ever to delivering on the promise of the president to make America safe again. And we need that in California, probably more than anywhere else. So with that, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that, and everyone for their comments. And with that, we're going to open it up to questions, but we're going to keep it specifically to questions that pertain to this topic and some of the operations that are ongoing here in Los Angeles and how we will sustain and build on those operations in the future. So do you want to go first? Yes. Yes.
We know that there's more protests coming for this.
Yes.
DHS actively planning requesting more assistance from DOD, more troops, given those protests that are coming. Is this the administration's plan?
You know, what I would say is that I'm not going to telegraph exact statistics and numbers and what we are doing as far as participation with the military. But we do have several thousand engaged here in Los Angeles right now. We are assessing this weekend's threat levels, not just here, but in cities across the country, and pre-deploying assets. So we're using every tool that we have in our toolbox and pre-staging people, task forces, special swift response teams, people with specific gifts and talents that they can contribute to areas that we think they may be needed this weekend, so that we can prevent any kind of violence from being perpetuated. You know, I would say the president has the right to utilize every authority that he has under the Constitution to utilize Title X and to bring in military assets and National Guard units as needed, and he'll continue to assess that and use his prerogative to decide when it's necessary. Yeah.
Secretary of the Guard, previously asked the Defense Secretary to direct troops to arrest people. Is that something you've seen?
You know, I think what I had talked was a conversation with the Department of Defense to ask them to use the authorities that they have in conjunction with the president to make sure that there's consequences for people who perpetuate violence. So that is what the assessment is, and they're being utilized to the fullest extent to which the president wishes to at this point in time. And I'm so thankful we have a U.S. attorney and a Department of Justice that is going out there and prosecuting these crimes as well. That's something that was very different under the Biden administration. That is a game changer now. We have a president now that believes in the rule of law and that is going to make sure that when people break the law, no matter who you are, that you will be prosecuted and you will be brought to justice. Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah.
Two questions. The first one is, do you have an estimated number of people that have been reported? The second question, do you have threats? Police threats?
You know, I'm not. Oh, you know what? I don't even know the senator. He did not request a meeting with me or to speak with me.
The reason I gathered you here today is for a family strategy meeting. Johnny, after dinner, you get 30 more minutes of IXL. Timmy, let's work together on your long division. Let's do this. The learning product Family Trust. Start learning today at IXL.com.
Try to have a conversation. For instance, I have left voicemails for Governor Newsom wanting to have a conversation. Has he returned them? No, he hasn't. I know that the White House has reached out and had conversations with Mayor Bass as well. And so that's what you do to try to start these conversations and ask for partnerships. Unfortunately, we haven't met that in this area. I'll visit with the senator and find out really what his concerns are and what we can do. You know, what I would say is that we have over 1,500 people that we have been interdicting with, arresting for different situations, and we will continue to build on that. Well, we literally have tens of thousands of targets. So I think that's what's more important. People should know that there are millions of people that are in this city illegally, and that we have, I would say, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of targets that we will be going after. Remember, this president has repeatedly said that he's going after criminals and the worst of the worst. And we're going after people that are in work sites that are trafficking drugs, that are trafficking human beings. We're DNA testing children, because many times when you see people claiming that their family members or the children they have with them that are theirs, many times when we DNA testing, they're not. They're really peddling our children, and they have human slavery going on, child trafficking, pedophilia. So we are going after those individuals that we have intelligence on, and we will continue to only build on that. And yes, I'm sorry to get to you right away.
There is some rhetoric out there that some of the people who have been detained, arrested, in detention are not, or do not have a criminal history. Can you address that? There's a lot of rhetoric out there that
Well, there's a lot of rhetoric, and there's a lot of false information and a lot of fake news. So I'd appreciate it if you guys would start covering the facts, and we'll get you all that information that we possibly can. Now, there may be people that, because of the targets that we were out there arresting, that were with those individuals, they were collaterals that were spending time with them, and all those people will be vetted. And remembering, still in the United States, if you come into this country illegally, you have committed a crime. And so when you do that, we have to go through and follow the law and make sure that we're adjudicating that and dealing with that appropriately. So the president's targets and priorities are the criminals that have perpetuated violence. But also, once again, I'm going to remind everybody, you have the opportunity to self-deport. We will buy you a plane ticket. We will give you $1,000 when you land in your home country, or if you go home to Mexico, and then we will get you scheduled so that you can come back to this country legally. You will have the opportunity to come back to the United States of America. If you don't do that and you wait until we come and arrest you and have to remove you, you will never get the chance to come and live in the United States of America again. The president has been clear on this. So I'd encourage you to get on the CBP Home app, and you can self-deport today, and we will facilitate that. You can take your entire family with you, people and your loved ones, and we will facilitate you coming to this country correctly. Everybody has the opportunity to do that. If you wait until we have to arrest you, you will never get to be an American, much less live here and work here and be able to pursue the American dream. Last question. Yes.
You just said that you go after the worst of the worst. But we've seen ICE arresting immigrants and
And remember, these are people.
Are we sending a message to the country that
If they took the legal correct path, they would have come here legally. They wouldn't have come into our country illegally. Second of all, they have final removal orders. They have final removal orders, and we're following. It is actually under the acts that the president has invoked through his executive orders. It actually is a criminal offense. And so one of the things that we need to remember is that when you're going out there and talking about what is happening with individuals who are in this country illegally, is that they have the opportunity every single day to return back home and we will work with them and facilitate that and work with their families. But if they choose to wait back and to not make that decision today, then they are subject to this type of operation that will target those that have criminal activity and backgrounds and perpetuators of violence first. Those are our targets. But we are going to make sure that we're bringing peace back to the city of Los Angeles.
She told me she has hundreds of cases of people coming in asking for asylum. They go to their immigration checking.
So my only question to you, I'd say a question back to you is, which laws in the United States should be enforced and which ones shouldn't? I mean, my job, here's the deal, guys. My job is not to pick and choose which laws we enforce and which ones we don't. We have laws in this country and they matter. If you want the law changed, go to Congress. When's the last time you went to Capitol Hill and told your senator or representative to change it? That's what they need to do. This is the perfect time for Congress to make a decision on how they want people in this country to be able to have an opportunity to come here legally and to fix this. We, as law enforcement officers and as a national security department and agency, my job is to uphold the law. And that's what I will continue to do. Yes, sir, I'm going to finish with you. And I kind of like the Bass Pro hat too, so I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go to you. So go ahead. Yes. Nope, these operations, I will say these operations have been much more difficult because of Los Angeles and California's sanctuary policies. SB 54 has been difficult for us, and we don't have the backup of your local law enforcement. That's put our officers in danger. In fact, even this morning, we had Highway Patrol that we were working with. I was talking to officers. They were so happy that we were here, and they were grateful that we were here interdicting with these criminals. And then the governor found out that I was here, and he pulled them off of me and told him to go back home and to not cooperate with us anymore. So if you don't think your governor's being political, he gets up every single day and the first hat he puts on is the political one. And then he makes a decision that's best for him and his family. And then he makes a decision that's best for what his future is. And then maybe 10 or 15 steps down the line, he'll decide what's best for his people. That's what your governor does. Next, I'm going to come to you. Yeah, I think the president recognizes that we have some Department of Labor regulations and laws that we can utilize in certain situations. And he and I have discussed this at length and with other cabinet officials. And it's the president and I will continue to look at that and evaluate what we can do as far as individuals and facilitating a workforce in this country that we know are people who want to be here legally, what the consequences are for them breaking the law, because everybody, when they break the law, there has to be consequences. But what we can do to facilitate making sure that those who really do love the United States of America have the opportunity at some point to live here and to be a part of our future and to be a part of this country and our economy and the dream of raising their children here. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I've been traveling around Los Angeles all morning. I saw a lot of graffiti, a lot of destruction. I saw quite a bit of, where we saw some of the activity. We were staying close to downtown where we were last night. It was very interesting to me. I would have preferred to have gotten into some areas that I know I was respecting the curfew because I landed after midnight and then we left the hotel this morning before 5 a.m., around 5 a.m. So, but some of those areas that we were able to see, it makes me sad. This is a phenomenal state and this is such a beautiful city and people dream. No, I've been driving. I mean, we've been in the car most of the morning doing different operations and out with our agents. But I mean, don't you want your downtown to be beautiful?
No, I just wanted to know.
I would say,
your impression of
yeah.
I've seen if it was only downtown,
Yeah.
I've seen other parts of
No, I mean, I've been here many times before. But as far as this trip, we've been out on operations with law enforcement officers. And so we've covered quite a bit of territory and I'll still be here doing different things in different areas. But I would say that everybody should want their downtown. And if you're a business owner in a downtown, if you're a family that lives there, you want it to be safe and you want it to be beautiful and somewhere people want to come. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We will take any follow-ups later.
You bet.
So guys, there you have it. That was crazy. Crazy. So you might know somebody there. Right there. Mahab Khalid, they're out. 53 years old, Rolando Valenciano Enrique, Filipino national. Oh, shoot. Dang, there's a Filipino guy. Dang. This guy looks like somebody I know. Dang. I have the link here if you guys want to come. I have the babies though. Yeah, gotta protect. Gotta hide your kids, hide your wife now, guys. I got a baby here to protect. So, yeah. So come up, guys. Come up. The link's right here. Oh.
See you there. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Padilla está afuera. No, lo sacaron del edificio. Bueno, pero que se decida.
Senator from a federal building, from a room, thrown upon the ground, driven to his knees and handcuffed. This is all purposefully being done in our country by a president that has a different view of his authorities as president. That if a judge criticizes him, he believes it is wrong. He drew reprimand from the Supreme Court for his calling out justices whose opinions he disagrees with. This is a president that doesn't believe in the checks and balances of our Constitution. But the frustrating thing about all of this is it is distracting us. This dangerous, violent distraction from the bill that we should be discussing on this floor about the ripping away of health care from millions of Americans, the cutting of food stamps from millions of children, the cutting of services for disabled Americans, the cutting of supports for our senior citizens. This monumental moment, the biggest transfer of wealth from working people in America to millionaires and billionaires, this moment that should be dominating our attention and our focus, this imminent bill that's being debated and discussed here in the Senate right now that has such incredible consequences, putting $2.4 trillion more of debt in our country, raising the energy costs on the average American by hundreds of dollars. This bill that would raise the premiums of people in our nation by hundreds of dollars. This bill that merits debate and discussion because it is so violative of our common values. This bill that takes food away from the hungry, healthcare away from the sick, that takes working people and makes their challenges harder, all to give more tax cuts to billionaires and drives up our deficit by the trillions. That should be the central conversation in our country. But this president, almost as if he knows the unpopularity of his bill, the betrayal of his bill, is misusing, abusing his powers, and trying to change the conversation in the most despicable of ways. Abusing his authority, treading on our traditions, violating our Constitution, and now perhaps one of the greatest violent assaults on a member of this body by the executive. This is not metaphorical, this is literal. A member of this body, after identifying himself, physically and forcibly dragged out of a room in a federal building. Then, when the doors were closed, you can see it on the camera, the federal government, the executive branch, taking a member of this body, a member of the United States Senate, a co-equal branch of our government, and driving that man to his knees, slamming him upon his face, wrenching his arms behind his back. That's what we're talking about in this body right now. This is a dangerous time in America. When the president from the Oval Office says, almost daringly, "Do not protest my parade," warns people about protests. And this is the thing that the president of the United States doesn't understand about this country. When a president is violating norms and traditions, violating our Constitution, dissent is not unpatriotic. Protest is not un-American. Silence is unpatriotic. This is a time where protest is justified. Peaceful protest is necessary and vital. This is a time where speaking up and exercising your constitutional principles like freedom of speech, like freedom of assembly, like the right to petition your government is demanded by our democracy. When you have a president that so flagrantly violates the checks and balances, so much so that their authorities today kept a senator from stepping forward and asking questions to an executive official, and is met by violence. This is exactly the time that our founders saw that we must stand up and speak up and protest peacefully and let our voices be heard, because silence in a time like this is complicity. And my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have to see this. It doesn't take that much mental acuity to understand that if this was the Biden administration or the Obama administration and an official used their security detail to put another person in this body, to put a senator from the other side of the aisle on their knees and in handcuffs, we would see outrage. This is not about left or right. This is about right or wrong. And today we saw a deep, grave wrong heaped upon not just this body, but as Alex Padilla wrote so eloquently, upon the ideals, because if you could do this to a United States senator, then you can do it to another American. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Mr. President. All right, just listening in there to Senator Cory Booker talking about that, the temporary detainment of Senator Alex Padilla at this Kristi Noem event there at the FBI headquarters in Los Angeles. And we're also getting more comments right now from the senator himself, Alex Padilla. I want to put this up here on Live Now from Fox, saying, if that's what they do to a United States senator with a question, imagine what they can do to any American that dares to speak up. We will hold this administration accountable, saying, quote, I was in the federal building in Los Angeles today to meet with federal officials as part of my job to provide oversight and accountability of the administration. While I was waiting for a scheduled briefing with the general, I learned that Secretary Noem was having a press conference just down the hall. We have repeatedly asked the Trump administration for answers on the deployment of military forces and the needless escalation in Los Angeles over the last week, and have gotten limited to no information. I attended Secretary Noem's press conference in hopes of getting some answers. After identifying myself and trying to asking a question, I was aggressively pushed out of the room, forced to the ground, and handcuffed. If that's what they do to a United States senator with a question, imagine what they can do to any American that dares to speak up. We will hold this administration accountable. Of course, the FBI is saying that.
With Framer, the things you design become real.
So we also have video saying and hearing from Padilla there, calling out his name, talking about this. Of course, they also described Senator Padilla as disruptive while formal remarks were being given. All right, let's take you back out there. Chris Murphy, the other senator, the Democratic senator making remarks here on the floor. Let's listen back into this on Live Now.
There's some really radical ideas for 1722. This is
but they're
20 years before Thomas.
He didn't put his senatorial pin, so he wasn't recognized. Man, that's why. That's what happened.
Current. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation.
That's crazy, though. So he wasn't recognized because because I was watching the press, but yeah. Hold up. Can you guys hear me? So, but anyway, yeah. Senator Alex Padilla wasn't wearing his pin, so that was one of the FBI agent was saying. So that's wild. That's wild. Because, yeah, he's a Democrat, so he should know better too. He's another Democrat, so there's something going on. Democrats are really trying to go against the Republicans, of course, but also Donald Trump. So yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like, this guy is come on now, man. But hey, sorry for the awful music, but we're just setting out the mood,
What happened to Senator Padilla today, it does stand in context. I say again, it does matter that on that day in which violence was used against the United States Capitol as a means to try to upset our democracy, was cheered on by a president who then pardoned those violent rioters. It stands in the context of the arrest of a mayor in New Jersey and a congressperson seeking to do normal and regular oversight, and stands in context with the use of the FCC to try to intimidate and harass news stations that carry coverage unfavorable to the president, and stands in context of the banning of outlets having access to the White House or the Pentagon simply because they don't write things that are favorable to the president, or use terms that are favorable to the president. If we lose our democracy, it's not likely that there's going to be this one moment, this one day, this one fight. It won't be like other revolutions where the Parliament building gets burned down or a coup occurs. No, it will be that over time, the message has been sent that if you speak up against the government, there is a price to be paid, and that price involves violence. But if you use violence on behalf of the government, it will be excused. And so, why we are still on this floor tonight is, sure, we have immense respect for our colleague, and I believe he has respect across the aisle. Senator Padilla is a decent human servant who doesn't deserve to be treated that way. We're here because he's our friend and our colleague. But we are also here because too many in this body take for granted that this democracy is natural, that it is just going to hang around no matter the threats. The effort that this administration is undergoing to excuse and normalize violence when it happens in advancement of the administration's political priorities, and then to suppress nonviolent speech in a multitude of ways. When it objects to this administration's priorities, it sends a message to the public about what you can get away with and what you can't get away with. Now, I don't think this will be the result. I don't think the American people will be bullied into silence. I do not believe they will watch that clip of Alex Padilla being forced to the ground and handcuffed and decide to stay home. No, I think, in fact, the opposite will likely happen. I think more Americans will be out there protesting this government. I think more Americans will decide to be present this weekend to stand up for the right of free speech. But if that were to be the case, it would be the exception to the historical rule. Because in most countries, when a ruler uses violence in order to suppress dissent, it works. People decide that they don't want to risk the fate of Alex Padilla. They don't want to be on the ground with their hands forced behind them and put into handcuffs. They stay home. And they just let the tyranny wash over their community and their country. We're not there yet. I don't mean to exercise hyperbole. What I seek to say is that we should not take this democracy for granted. And that there can be, history tells us there often is, a deep impact when violence is used against those who are protesting the regime. It becomes normalized. And it ends up scaring many people into a descent away from civic participation. And that is where our democracy dies. This sacred privilege, the privilege of free speech, the privilege to protest your government, says 16-year-old Benjamin Franklin, is so
Now they're gonna quote Benjamin Franklin just so they can, and you don't want to quote somebody and then you just use it for your own agenda. And that's why I put it on mute. Yeah, I don't like that. Can you guys hear me though? Hey, comment down below if you can hear me, and let me know where you're from. 13 people that's here. Let me know where you're from. And yeah, it says here soon, or that I guess next after this Democrat congressman. He doesn't even show his face, or I mean his name. But yeah, they're just reacting. I mean, these are the Congress reacting to the lawmakers. Senator Padilla, California, huh? California, Democrat senator. Alex Padilla. Yeah, man, that's crazy. But anyway, next will be LA Mayor Karen Bass on anti-ICE protester. Okay, that'll be a good one. So interact, guys, interact. Let me know what's going on. Thank you for coming here. 11 people that's here. Yep. And let me know where you guys from.
The handcuffing and violence to Senator Padilla simply because they believe he was disrespectful paints a really dangerous picture of where we're heading. Senator Booker is right. The focus should be on the violence that's being done to the American people's health care right now. We're debating a bill right now as we speak to rip health care away from upwards of 15 million Americans. That's extraordinary. That's a healthcare catastrophe. That's not just 15 million people losing their healthcare. That's hospitals, drug treatment centers, health clinics shutting down when you pull almost $1 trillion out of the Medicaid system. There's a new budget analysis today that shows that the poorest 30% of the country, 40% of the country, will be poorer after this bill passes, just so that the richest 10 or 20% can get a massive new tax cut. In fact, the richest people in this country will get an average $270,000 tax cut. Literally a transfer of wealth from the poorest people in this country. People who are working minimum wage jobs are going to be poorer after having passed this bill in order to enrich the folks who are doing super well. And we're going to add $3 trillion to the deficit. Just going to put it on our kids' credit card. That's maybe the most unpopular major piece of legislation that has ever come before.
Now it makes sense. Now they want to talk about they're against that bill, the big whatever, beautiful bill, whatever Trump was saying. So I don't even know the name of this senator or Congress. So that's, but we'll let him talk. I'll meet him again, but I want to hear the protester too, the ICE protester, the anti-ICE protester. So it'll be interesting. Let me know your comment or anything like that. Where you guys from? Hey, shout out to you guys, the 12 people. I appreciate you guys viewing. and showing support.
So we are still here hours after this incident because we care about our colleague, because we believe this is ultimately going to do immense damage to this institution that we love. I've done hard work with many of my Republican colleagues. I deeply care about many of my Republican colleagues. I don't know all of them well, but I know enough of them to know that there are patriots, there are people who believe that America matters more than our party. I showed that video to several of my Republican colleagues as we were leaving the chamber today. I saw their jaws drop. I know their human reaction to what they saw, but I also know that there is a tendency in this version of the Republican Party to circle the wagons around one message, that if Democrats say X, then Republicans have to say Y. That doesn't have to be the case every time. It just doesn't. There can be true things, and a true thing is this. That was an excessive, impermissible amount of force that was used on Senator Padilla today. We can say that together. Even if you agree with the president on his decision to deploy the National Guard, even if you hate every single one of those protesters, even if you don't like Senator Padilla, which is hard, because he's a freaking hard guy not to like. But even if you believe all those things, you can say that what happened today is not all right. And that the White House should admit that there should be an apology, and that there should be protocols set in place to make sure that if a United States senator shows up to a public event, he didn't bust into a private meeting. This was a press conference designed to be public, to transmit public information. He wanted to make sure that that was accurate information. Maybe you don't like the way that he did it, but what he did is not illegal. What he did does not deserve that treatment. We can decide that that's wrong. We can recognize the danger to this concept of free speech, defended in 1722 by a 16-year-old Benjamin Franklin, is serious enough for us to speak together with one voice. So my Republican colleagues may think that we are belaboring the point, but this is an important moment for the Senate and for the nation. I yield the floor.
All right, just listening in there to the Senator Chris Murphy talking about this as we await Karen Bass to step to the microphone just mere hours after the senator from California was forcibly removed from the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem's press conference. Let's line away for a quick 2-minute break.
Yeah, so yeah, commercial break. But yeah, man, that's crazy, guys. That's crazy. I'll put it back. So, man, you guys hear me or what? People are busy right now. I guess they couldn't come, but I'll give you guys a shout out. Boji 2.2, thank you for coming. Boy Alien. Even positive, negative, I'll give you guys a shout out. Footy, Amber, Kurokawa, Yaku, Truck Worker, and Regardless. Thank you for coming. And yeah, I mean, it's Thursday. Let's be thankful and grateful that we're alive. And look, I mean, this is America. Austin, New York, and it's a beautiful country. And you have to be thankful and grateful. A grateful attitude. In Chicago right here. Been to Chicago, Philadelphia. Yeah, give me a shout out. 10 of you guys are, I don't know where you guys from. Dallas Fort Worth. I've been to Dallas Fort Worth. I've been to San Francisco. What state are you from? What state are you from? Washington D.C. I've never been, even though I did some time in the Navy. Atlanta. Yeah, I should go, huh? Phoenix. Shout out to Phoenix. I've been to Phoenix and just passing by. Tampa Bay. Seattle, never been to Seattle, Washington. Detroit, shout out Detroit. Yeah, never been. In Minneapolis, St. Paul, Orlando, Florida. Never been. I got a cousin there. Milwaukee, Austin, in Texas. Been to Texas, not Austin. New York. Yay. There it is. Live Fox Now. Thank you for I don't have the rights for this one, and yeah, here it comes again. The guy, the anchor guy. Hold up. They're gonna talk about the protesters, the which is this is what I want to hear. So now I guess Secretary Kristi Noem of the Homeland Security will hear them. So let's see.
Angeles, is this a statement coming in saying what just happened to Alex Padilla is absolutely abhorrent and outrageous. He is a sitting United States Senator. This administration's violent attacks on our city must come to an end. Of course, talking about this, and there are conflicting reports about whether Senator Alex Padilla identified himself. In the video, you can very clearly, somewhat clearly hear him say that I'm Alex Padilla and I have a question. The FBI, Kristi Noem, and others are coming out and saying that he did not identify himself at this point. So lots of conversations about that here on Live Now from Fox, about what transpired there in Los Angeles as he's on the ground conducting oversight of this. So this is the video. Again, I want to play it here on Live Now from Fox as we await some comments from LA Mayor Karen Bass. And you can see there Senator Alex Padilla being pushed out of the room by Secret Service associated with the people around Kristi Noem. So you can see this here on Live Now from Fox. This coming in from Senator Padilla's staff. He was led out of the room and ultimately pushed to the ground, where they put his hands behind his back and did handcuff him at one point as he was temporarily detained there until they identified him as the senator. So we're still hearing and learning more about this, but plenty different lawmakers coming out, speaking out about this, including the Senator Cory Booker. Let's listen back in here to this. I think it's a continued live event there in Washington, D.C. Let's listen in.
To speak up. More than this, Alex Padilla in this body has come in a very unusual way. He is the son of Mexican immigrants, a short order cook, and a woman who cleaned homes. In this environment where we have seen our immigration enforcement officials not going after criminals or gang members or people that are somehow threatening us, but going to separate families, taking away a mother from her children, taking away people dropping off their kids at school, going to work sites or places like Home Depots where people stand and looking for work, going after agricultural workers. This is a moment where we see good faith people peacefully protesting and having the courage to stand up to the most powerful person in the world, the President of the United States. But yet again, we see an example where that president is willing to abuse their authority in an act that is sure to be an attempt at intimidation. If Alex Padilla, a United States Senator, can be dragged from a room in a federal building for asking questions, thrown upon the ground and handcuffed, what does it say to the traditions in our nation that are one of the reasons why we are all here? Because our government does have its limits. It's not unchecked power. The president is not the king. Insulting him is not a crime. Look, I have been disappointed, as I have seen in joint statements and I've seen this in State of the Union addresses, behavior from people that I don't find justifiable within the chamber. I remember when a South Carolina congressman heckled the president of the United States. I heard it in one of Trump's addresses, people yelling things at the president. Is that, in a democracy, sufficient provocation to arrest senators or Congress people who are quote unquote disrespectful, as Alex Padilla was accused of being, as if that's a justification to be thrown upon the ground, violently handcuffed? We have certain exalted ideals and principles in a democracy. In fact, fundamental to our democracy, written in our founding documents, over 200 years old, were this ideal of certain inalienable rights to the people. Our Bill of Rights enshrines, before even the ratification of our Constitution by states, it was demanded that we have a Bill of Rights that guarantees certain principles before a government. Our design of our government was to provide checks and balances because of how much our founders feared excesses and abuses of power. These are constitutional principles now that today, in the most dramatic of fashion, are under attack. We as a nation have elevated the ideals of the ability of American citizens to speak truth to power, to protest, to stand peacefully and forcibly in defiance of abuses of power. And today, in this body of 100, we have seen one of our members, the son of Mexican immigrants, the son of a short order cook, and a woman who cleaned houses in the most noble of fashions, who invested themselves in our common dream, who invested themselves in our ideals, who raised an extraordinary young man who has lived his life in service of others, starting in Los Angeles, starting as a city council person in that very city, a graduate of MIT, face an indignity and an assault and violence that should not be tolerated on anybody in this body that isn't.
Other people enjoy the celebration. I enjoy the preparation. It's more than just being on the range longer than anyone. It's about practicing smarter, getting more out of each shot, going through the process and checking the boxes. I've always wanted to be number one and win a major. I've done that. But make no mistake, I want more.
Everyone for being here. We put a call out about an hour ago. And with this call, and I'm so glad that you are here as children, you came on a moment's notice because every single person standing here understands the gravity of this situation.
That's right.
And what we want to show to the world, you want to know Los Angeles? This is Los Angeles. Last Thursday, Los Angeles was peaceful. There was nothing happening here that warranted what began to take place on Friday. So today, I wanted to present a visual, one that Angelinos know, but I just want to make sure that the state, the country, and the world knows that this is Los Angeles. We are a city of labor. We are a city of businesses. We are a city of faith. We are a city of believers, and we are a city of dreamers. So let's just remember why we are here today. Last Thursday, ICE entered our city and provoked the city by chasing people through Home Depots and car washes and showing up at schools, and today showing up at emergency rooms and homeless shelters. ICE intervened as a pretext to federalize the National Guard and then In the White House, the National Guard was complimented for the work that they did to keep peace in the city Saturday night. But I will tell you, the Guard didn't even arrive here until Sunday. They used this as a pretext to send the U.S. Marines into an American city, which will target our own citizens. They've been threatening elected officials with arrests, and they just shoved and cuffed a sitting U.S. senator. How could you say that you did not know who he was? We see the videotape, we see him saying who he was, but how do you not recognize one of two senators in our state? And he is not just any senator. He is the first Latino senator to ever represent our state. The images we have seen of our city over the past week, the rage, the vandalism, the looting, none of it is LA. Los Angeles is who you see behind me. Representatives of the faith community, the business community, community organizations. Yesterday, I stood at this podium with over 30 mayors from Los Angeles County who are all concerned about what is going on. Los Angeles is a Jewish community, a Muslim community, a Christian community, and many other faiths. Los Angeles is Chinatown,
I know, right?
Tokyo, Filipino town, Koreatown, Thai town,
Hey,
the South LA
please ain't
African
from
American
Atlanta.
community,
Filipino,
the Chamber of
what's up?
Congress, the Central City Association. This is LA, and we are united. And I just want to say
No,
that I
LA
was
is not
listening to
united.
the words of the secretary at the press conference describing LA as a war zone. It is my understanding that she arrived here late last night, was here for a few hours today, and came to that conclusion.
I know,
There's
right?
no one up here that sees Los Angeles like that. And I know as the press, you know this is not
I
all
can't
of
wait.
Los Angeles.
I can't wait.
This
I
is
can't-
isolated to a few blocks in a city that is over 500 square miles.
Good job, good job. I can't wait,
And
man.
out of those 500 square miles, the protests, and especially the protests that devolved into vandalism, represents about half a square mile. So the notion that this is happening all over our city, the notion that this city is not governable, the notion that we need the military to intervene, we have the capacity to address these problems. And I know there's not a person up here that supports vandalism, that supports violence, and that understands if you support the immigrant community, you know how to do it in a peaceful manner. We are proud to say that we have a well-established, a well-respected immigrant rights organizations that have been holding protests for years and years that have never devolved into violence. And so to characterize what is going on as our city is a city of mayhem is just an outright lie. I'm not going to call it an untruth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to call it for what it is, which is a lie. And I just have to say, I served with the secretary. I served with the secretary for probably about 10 years in Congress. And Madam Secretary, I do not recognize you anymore. I do not know.
Ooh, doesn't recognize
that I
what?
served with for 10 years.
Come
So
on now.
no matter what happens out of White House,
What do you mean
the
by
White
that?
House, we will always uphold and reflect what Los Angeles and the United States of America are truly about. Freedom, tolerance, and for God's sake, our Constitution.
Come on now.
With that,
Come on
I
now,
would
Karen.
like to introduce Angelica
Please. Tell me
Salas,
here,
the
Karen.
Executive Director of CHPC, one of the most respected and established immigrant rights organization that has been in our city for over 4 decades and is known throughout the nation. And I want to ask you, Angelica, to talk about what the letter that you received this morning.
I read. I know. Arrest me. You knew some? Arrest me.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. See, the Los Angeles that I love is made up beautiful people who are behind me and who are all over this city. This is a city that cares for one another. This is a city of caretakers. The people that I'm standing next to are people who work with our students and our children. They're people who work in our faith institutions, caring for entire congregations. They're the people who are fighting for worker rights. They're our union brothers and sisters. These are the people who are running to the detention centers in order to offer legal services to those who are currently detained. They're the same people talking to the families that are calling us on our hotline. This is the Los Angeles that I love deeply. This is also the Los Angeles that the immigrant community has helped build from its very, very first days as a city. And what I want you to know is the city that I love loves our people back. What I have seen come to our city is cruelty, is chaos, is violations of human, civil, and constitutional rights. What has been brought to our city has been racial profiling in a way that I have never experienced it in my career. What I see now, and based on all our reports, is over 45 enforcement actions, not just in the city of Los Angeles, but our entire region, all of Southern California. I have never seen this. It's unprecedented, and that is an understatement. The pain that we are witnessing when we talk to the family members is unbearable, of children being left behind. And I want this president to know that this city is tough, it is organized, it is disciplined, and will not tolerate what is happening at this moment. What was very clear to me this year was at the beginning of the year is that they were not just going after the immigrant community, but they were going to go after all the immigrant rights organizations that supported them. And they did. They began by defunding us, by making sure that organizations here next to me wouldn't have the resources to be able to go represent children and vulnerable adults, disabled individuals in detention, that took away legal services from those who are still trying to find their parents and their children from the first Trump administration. And now what I see very clearly is they're coming to the organizations by then, I would say, to saying the most vicious of lies of who we are and what we do and what we're about. But the truth is the truth, and it's based on our actions, not actions of this day, but actions of decades. That's right. And yes, we have received a letter from Senator Josh Hawley. But what I want you to know is that's not going to deter us. It's not going to intimidate us from standing with our immigrant community, by standing with our families, by demanding due process, by demanding that there be accountability for the violations of human and civil rights that have occurred in our city. But I know I'm not alone. These are all the people who are here with me, and there's so many good people in LA, and we're going to stand together. We're going to show this country that we do believe in liberty and justice for all, and that our Constitution and our Bill of Rights are our guiding principles. And that is what has brought so many immigrants to this country, because they believe deeply in these values, and we're going to fight to make sure that those values are upheld. Thank you very much.
And the reason to
I'd like to say thank you, Mayor.
Let me just say that one thing I think that is not thought about, we certainly understand it in our city. The immigrant community is vital to the economy of our city.
That's right.
There are entire sectors of our economy that will not function if the immigrant community is too afraid to go to work and too afraid to go to school.
Hey,
You could
why
talk
you
about the
guys here
construction
then?
industry, and I think there's a lot of building that needs to take place here. You can talk about hospitality, and I think that we are concerned about our tourism industry. And I could go on and on about the economic impact. That is why we have the Chamber of Commerce and the Central City Association led by Nell McCosker and Maria Salinas, the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce.
Go back to school and get to work too. Come on now. Please.
Thank you, Mayor.
Get to work.
Just listening in there to this update from the Los Angeles city officials after these anti-ICE demonstrators continue to break out. But we've been watching them from coast to coast, from the West Coast, all the
But yeah, get to work, man. Come on now. Sorry, Fox guy, but I'm here in California, so shout out to Cheese to Dust and yeah for commenting Dan Shuck, Grandma, yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. This is crazy. What's going on here now? Man, there's a torch? What? In New York? What's going on? Let's see. Torch what? Car? Oh my. Now in the East Coast? That's wild. about the race? How about the riot?
Military, soldiers who are trained to fight wars on
Oh wait,
foreign soil
was it on mute?
here
Didn't you
in
guys
our
hear it?
city
It was on
is
mute.
not going to bring peace
Sorry.
because
Sorry.
first and foremost,
Stop
they
the
are not
race.
needed.
Stop the
Second of
race.
all,
Come on.
federalizing the
Sorry,
National
guys.
Guard will not
You guys
bring
didn't hear
peace to our city. That is not all that is going to do is provoke people and create and add to the sense of fear in this city. We know how to bring about peace, and peace begins with ICE leaving Los Angeles. Thank you. Wait. Okay, we're going to take a few questions, Zach.
We're going first to Anna, then to Robert. Mayor Bass, have you been able to get on the phone with President Trump?
No, I have made a formal request. I have talked to members that are close to the administration. We will see if my formal request is granted.
Is he denying your request?
There has just not been a response just yet.
We're going to Robert and then Josh.
Hi.
Let's talk about the curfew. Is it going to continue? How long is it going to continue? Does the zone need to be expanded after we saw last Monday?
Well, I don't think the zone needs to be expanded. Unfortunately, we will continue the curfew. And my hope is after continuing it a few more days, that people will get the message that we are serious. The arrest that took place last night was not for looting, was not for violence. It was for unlawful assembly and curfew violation. What I noticed when I was traveling the streets late last night is that the people that were out on the streets were young people waving flags, and they were not violent. That was not the group that has committed the vandalism. Like I said, I do not recognize the secretary anymore. I don't know who she is. That is a complete lie.
Oh, she got a fan or what?
I have spoken to Senator Padilla, and I just, expressed my concern about his health, about his safety. And all I can say is that, I mean, in some instances, there's no words. This is a sitting U.S. senator, not somebody. And frankly, if you're going to come into town and say you have diagnosed what is happening in our city, and you don't even know who the U.S. senator is?
Yeah.
What do you think that the Congress is going to? Fascism? An authoritarian president? What do you think?
Let me just say that I think that unfortunately our city is being used as a test case. I feel like we are a citywide laboratory. The authority of the mayor. And so I think as part of this test case, it's a warning for other cities, but clearly other cities are very concerned, which is why you have seen protests spread. But I also know that there's a new mayor in Omaha, Nebraska. I don't know how many hours he's been mayor, and he's already experiencing raids. So I think this sense of fear and terror goes whenever you have ICE that's out there. ICE could be raiding folks right now. I was in a meeting with Angelica and some of the other immigrant rights leaders the other morning, and everybody's cell phones started going off. Why? Because they were being notified of raids that were taking place in front of schools. You might have heard me mention that my grandson's elementary school, there were ICE agents right out in front of that. We believe that it's because they thought it was a graduation that was taking place. And the violent criminals that they detained were 2 street vendors selling food.
Ethan Johnson, Republican, PBS Frontline. At 5:52 a.m. this morning, the National Guard was used to effect what seems to be a
Yes.
criminal arrest.
Yeah. No, but thank you for raising that, because I think what that could indicate is an expansion of their mission. Their mission here is supposed to be solely protecting the federal buildings. 100 National Guard or federalized National Guard are in the downtown federal building, and 100 are in the Westwood federal building. Westwood always has protests. None of them have been about this issue. I don't even know why they're there. And frankly, I don't know why the federalized National Guard is needed. But I will tell you, when I saw the federalized National Guard there this morning, it indicated to me that there might be an expansion of their mission, and I believe that is extremely dangerous. Again, all that does is provoke the community.
That's right.
Well, for me, the last time he was president, I was in Washington, D.C., and a lot of these ideas were lifted then. They talked about them, but they didn't implement them. So in part, and I think that's true for most of us, we heard this rhetoric before. Now we're watching it play out, and it's extremely terrifying.
Mayor, two things. First, you mentioned, oh, I'm sorry, I'm Molly with the Washington Post. Two questions. One, do we know whether Marines have actually entered the city of Los Angeles or been actually deployed out of Los Angeles? And then second, we've got this court ruling we're expecting to go down in San Francisco today. What is the significance of that for Los Angeles?
Well, hopefully the significance of that is the federalized National Guard will leave. Again, we have a very good relationship with our governor. If the National Guard was needed, I could have picked up the phone, called the police chief, called the sheriff, and said, please make the request, and it would not have been denied. Once again, there was no reason for that. You asked, what was the other question? Oh, so my understanding, and you might know different, they're in Seal Beach. And by the way, the Marines who cannot arrest people, who do not do civil, in the streets, crowd control, are now being trained for that. And I think we probably all seen the pictures of the Marines being trained. And by the way, we really need to understand, it's so important to understand our history. It's not normal for the military to be deployed on the streets of cities in the United States. The military is for foreign wars, not civil unrest that's not even happening. No, see, this is the thing about the military, about the federalized National Guard, about ICE. There's no communication. None of us here know how long the raids are going to go on. We all function off of rumors, and I think the latest rumor is that it's going to go on for 30 days. The rumor is the military might be here for 60 days. The bottom line is they're not needed for 30, for 20, or for 60 days. Well, what I know is that, and I don't know, do you know? Okay.
So especially every day that passes, our reports and the numbers of raids increase. They also increase in front of schools. We received reports of hospitals, and so in churches. And so what I need you to understand is that each day there are multiple actions. And they're not just in the city of Los Angeles. So they'll be in Whittier, they'll be in Downey, they'll be in all adjoining cities, regional cities. Yesterday, our Raids Rapid Response Network did not stop receiving calls until after 7 p.m. And so there's two kinds of reports. It's the community is also very scared. So even if they are not at an enforcement site, what's happening is they're witnessing everything. So a lot of our volunteers. Mayor, can I say something in Spanish? Because I think it's really important for nomás un mensaje a nuestra comunidad inmigrante, a toda nuestra comunidad aquí en Los Ángeles. Lo único que sí les quiero decir es que toda esta gente que está aquí, todos son líderes cívicos de Los Ángeles, con nuestra alcaldesa, todos diciéndoles a ustedes que no están solos, que vamos a luchar con ustedes por sus familias, porque son las familias de Los Ángeles, y que estamos dispuestos a seguir luchando con todo, con todas nuestras capacidades para que la inmigración, para que estas redadas paren. Muchas gracias.
Claro.
Sure, sure.
Father, many parishioners from all the Catholic churches are asking their pastors if they can go to Mass on Sunday. And there are some groups, Catholic groups in different dioceses of Orange, for example, they already canceled their community events. What is the message for the Catholics to take action or to stay in silence?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question because there is a lot of fear. A lot of people aren't showing up for work. They're not showing up for school. They're not showing up at church. And what I would say is I don't know of any specific decision, at least in the Diocese of Los Angeles, to advise around that. But one thing, I've responded to many of these raid incidences in East LA. And one thing that sometimes I get the response is, well, did it happen at the parish? And what they mean is the church building. And I just like to remind everybody that a parish community is actually the whole neighborhood. And so I would call on religious leaders and parish communities to surround their churches and to surround their communities with the same kind of support. So when we, in any place, you can ask for extra presence that might help people feel safe, or you might make a decision to cancel the events that you have if it seems like people aren't safe or there's an active threat to them. So that's what I would say. I think it's a call on all of us to make sure that those places are safe, whether we are members of that congregation or not, that the congregation is really mixed in like all of our brothers and sisters within the whole community.
My question is because they already went
Right.
churches
In Downey. Right.
They
That's right.
arrested an old man
Right.
who was seated on the parking lot.
That's right.
If they already touch one single church, even if it's not Catholic, nobody's safe.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, what our community has said again and again is that they just feel hunted and they feel kidnapped. They feel sequestered, right? And they're hunting people, and that might end up in a church parking lot. They might end up in another parking lot. But we also know that organizations are receiving specific letters that seem to threaten them. At our church, we haven't received one of those letters yet, but you know, you never know what's going to happen. I think that that's what we need to be prepared for. Yeah.
Let me just say before we do that, you know, a couple of the other impacts. Thank you for mentioning the church, because that was a grandfather that was dropping off his granddaughter. But some of the other impacts, when people are detained, and Angelica, you will correct me if I'm wrong, you've been doing this for years and years. In the past, people have had access to legal counsel. People have had access to families. So when the priest says that people feel kidnapped, you do feel kidnapped if you don't know where your relative is. If you showed up to work because a raid was happening and you watched your mother, your father, your sister, or your brother being carted off and you don't know where they went, that creates a sense of panic. So one of the consequences of this is people being afraid to leave their homes, and then they don't want to go to the grocery store to get food. So we were talking this morning about, in solidarity, finding out who those people are and delivering food to them. That is a shame that we are even having this conversation. Go ahead, Zay.
There's been a lot of talk about protests and violence and all that, but there is an issue with the LAPD firing on peaceful protesters in point range, and they also firing bullets, rubber bullets, or other types of so-called less lethal munitions at borders. The Australian camera, I know people who have concussions, wounds to their heads, and a New York Post was shot. You know, I think that something is not right here, and there's violence, the federal source, but all of this violence is not. It cannot be put on protesters.
Right.
They're out there to
Well, I'm sorry, and I might feel differently than other people here. I would draw a distinction between the people who are vandalizing buildings and who are, you know, breaking in and looting. But let me just say that I have heard a number of accusations about the LAPD, and you can be sure that we will do an evaluation of all of it. Because one thing about our city, like a lot of other cities, just about everything is videotaped, including law enforcement and including people who are protesting. So I would draw a distinction between people who are peacefully protesting. So there will be an evaluation and an investigation into everything that happened, including the conduct of the police department.
I'm wondering, is there any kind of training, is there any kind of preparation that you or the department has overseeing to address the issue of warrantless visits?
Right.
What needs to be right now more than anything at this point?
Sure. Sure. Well, let me just tell you, prior to Friday, many city departments that interface with the public have been given the information, know your rights, the typical information that is passed out by immigrant rights organizations and the city. Now, having said that, we need to really ramp up. I will tell you, though, that this has been happening so fast that we absolutely need to do that, because I can also imagine people fleeing into these buildings for protection. But I also don't want to misrepresent the power of the city as well. It's important that people understand that the federal government is more powerful than the city or the state. And a lot of questions have come up about, why can't you just stop this? Trust me, if I could, I would. But we have to be careful, because we also don't want to invite the federal government in to press charges against a lot of people unnecessarily. So let me just say thank you all for showing up. And I just can't thank all of you enough, because you are showing who our city is. You are showing that our city is going to be united. And you are showing that we are not going to allow this administration or any other administration to divide us and to have us in conflict with each other, because we are LA. Thank you.
Yeah.
Families are sacred. Families are sacred.
All right, there you have it. Andrew Kraft here now in the anchor chair. You've been listening to Los Angeles officials, led there by Mayor Bass, who still maintains, after almost a week since these anti-ICE demonstrations broke out in the city with which she leads, that the federalization of the California National Guard and the very deployment of Marines who have not been and have not entered the city of Los Angeles just yet, she maintains that those actions are unnecessary. But she has said that as much over the last several days. She also says, with the resounding chant behind her, to stop the raids, meaning to stop the ICE raids that are going on in and around Los Angeles County. Now, federal authorities said those raids are not going to stop despite all of these protests still happening in cities nationwide, but the locus of them still continues to be Los Angeles. And so remember, there was this court hearing today in Los Angeles in federal court between the parties. Remember, the Newsom administration, Governor Gavin Newsom and his Attorney General Rob Bonta, suing the federal government over the very federalization of the National Guard. So arguments were held today. Not entirely sure if we're going to get some type of ruling on the merits on that matter from the federal judge. But if we do, of course, we'll bring it to you. But in the meantime, one of now the kind of side flashpoints to this entire story this week was a major, major moment in a press conference today at the FBI field office in Los Angeles. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem was giving a press conference, and it was interrupted, so to speak, by Senator Alex Padilla, the Democrat of California. So much so that interruption led to his forcible removal from the very room, and he was tackled to the ground. And so we're going to be touching on all of that. This is really, really reverberating on Capitol Hill, especially, and we're going to Capitol Hill when we come back. video of this moment in a press conference today. You see there DHS Secretary Kristi Noem speaking, and there is Senator Alex Padilla being forcibly removed from the very press conference. After what he says, he announced himself, but DHS and others said that he was unannounced and unrecognizable. We're going to re-rack it and play it again here so you don't miss the moment. There are other angles and vantage points that we are also going to show you. Take a look at this one. This was shot by our colleague, Fox's Bill Malugin. And you see there a member of the U.S. Senate from the most populous state in the country getting manhandled there by security on hand at this press conference. So we've been garnering a lot of the reaction, especially on Capitol Hill. I want to get the Capitol Hill reaction with our friend and colleague there at the National Journal, reporter Savannah Berman. She joins me. Savannah, thanks for being with us here. So I have to ask, have you been in touch with Senator Padilla's office? What is he saying?
Yeah, Senator Padilla's office shortly after, we don't know whether he was released from custody, but his office has said that he was not officially arrested or detained. But obviously in that footage, you can see him being taken pretty forcefully to the ground by officers who are wearing FBI vests. So he is now out of some sort of custody. He spoke to the press afterwards and says that he was there originally in the building for a meeting with a military official and just wanted to stop by the press conference to ask a question of the secretary. But yes, he says that he is now free. He's no longer being detained, but definitely a shocking scene. And it has really kind of shocked everyone here on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, let's get the reaction on Capitol Hill. What are Democrats saying? I've been reading someone, Kristi Noem, to resign from DHS over this. Have you seen that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a call that the Congressional Hispanic Caucus was yelling out on the steps of the Capitol building just hours ago. Members of the caucus and the conference were meeting there saying that not only should she resign, but Senator Schiff also was saying that this is not only an attack on Senator Padilla, but also on the Constitution itself. So it has really drawn kind of a visceral reaction from Democrats here who are very upset by the footage, and they're wanting answers and they are wanting an investigation not only into what happened, but also into those officers and agents involved. So it is an evolving issue here on Capitol Hill, but has certainly sparked a lot of anger from Democrats.
So to that point, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus saying this is unacceptable, full stop. Alex Padilla attended an open press conference to engage in debate, to represent his state, to do his job. They want a full investigation and consequences for every official involved in this assault against a sitting U.S. Senator. We're going to play a lot of this reaction as well. It was also reported that Secretary Noem and Senator Padilla did have on the sidelines after the press conference wrapped some type of brief exchange. It was being described as cordial, and they kind of got their pieces out, what they wanted to say. And so if there's any more reporting about some of those conversations, we'll make sure to bring it to our viewers here. Let's go to Republicans. What are Republicans saying? From what I've seen, some in the Senate, some of his Senate colleagues there are saying, why was he in Los Angeles in the first place? He missed a series of votes. Is that the line right now from them?
Absolutely. I mean, that was kind of a line that we were hearing from Majority Whip John Barrasso, who, when he was asked repeatedly by reporters afterward, had said, why is he not here in Washington? Why is he here in California? And he had kind of said that Padilla was doing it to make a spectacle of himself. Now, obviously, Padilla's office had said that he was in California to meet with military officials, and that's why he was not here in the Capitol building for votes. But there has been some kind of mixed reaction as well. Senator Lisa Murkowski called it sick. Yeah. She said it was concerning. So it's drawing mixed reaction for sure. But also on the other side of the Capitol building, House Speaker Mike Johnson was asked what he thinks an appropriate response would be. And he kind of at first tried to say, you know, this is a Senate issue. But when he was pressed, did say that he believes this would stand up to a censure in the Senate. But it's unclear whether that's something that leadership is going to pursue. Thune has said that he's kind of wanting to look at this from all possible angles. But again, I don't know if the censure would go over super well here in the Senate. Republicans while they are saying that he should have been here for votes. I don't know if it would go that far.
Okay, just to clarify, the door being open to a censure against Padilla for this?
Yeah, that's something that House Speaker Mike Johnson had drawn up as an idea, and he was asked about it by reporters, and he had said that that's something that he believes Padilla's actions would stand up to, is the censure. Now, it's unclear if Senate leadership would actually pursue something like this, but it's obviously clear from Barrasso's comments that they're frustrated that he was not here in DC for votes.
Yeah, you know, Savannah, we're playing the video again because it is quite stunning. I was following a lot of your colleagues and Democrats and Republicans alike, the fact that maybe, whatever you want to say, if it was warranted or not, that they've never seen anything like it, kind of the shock and awe value of it.
Yeah, that was definitely a line that we heard from Democrats, Republicans, Senate staffers who worked on Capitol Hill for decades, other reporters who have covered Capitol Hill for decades have said that they have never seen footage of a U.S. senator being taken pretty forcefully to the ground by agents and being handcuffed with his hands behind his back. And especially for then DHS to tweet out saying the senator lunged at the secretary and didn't identify himself. And we know that both of those things are not true. In the beginning of the video, he does identify himself as a senator. And I believe it was Mayor Bassett just said, it should be known that he is the California senator. They're in the city of Los Angeles. So I think just the footage and the overall incident has had a very shocking reaction on Capitol Hill.
You know, I want to talk about how this is all faring on Capitol Hill, about illegal immigration enforcement and the kind of preponderance of these raids being conducted by ICE in cities nationwide. I want to put this up from your contemporary there, I believe, at Axios, Steph Kite. She says 6 GOP members are asking for stats on how many arrested migrants are criminals. The letter says, quote, "We're also concerned that your limited resources may be stretched to pursue individuals that do not constitute an immediate threat to public safety." This letter was signed by the likes of Nicole Maliotakis, also Gabe Evans of Colorado. Are some Republicans uncomfortable right now because of the very evidence of this letter with some of the ICE raids going on?
Yeah, I think that there is a level of discomfort amongst both Senate and House Republicans over the footage that we're seeing from Los Angeles, especially, you know, the extent of some of these raids, as well as the National Guard moving in, and kind of the justification that the administration has used to call in the National Guard as well as the Marines to the city of Los Angeles. So there is a concern about how many resources are being used, whether that was kind of a premature call for the administration to make and that it's ramped up rhetoric to where it is now. But this also comes amidst Republicans trying to pass Trump's budget bill, which really stuffs $150 billion more towards the border and immigration. So this is kind of coming at an interesting intersection of topics here on Capitol Hill. And, you know, Republicans see the border as their most important issue. But this has certainly kind of spread some negativity around the bill, as well as how far the administration is going, and has definitely added a wrinkle to that passage as well.
All right, I just have to move on briefly to something that was passed in the House today, and this is what's known as the Recisions package. It was a very close vote. I believe it was 214 to 212, so very narrow. Also, I was reading 4 Republicans voted against it. Recisions, what are they? What was cut? And why were they cut? Savannah.
Yeah, so this rescissions package is the first that lawmakers are expecting from the Trump administration that would kind of codify some of these DOGE cuts, that agency that Elon Musk was running up until recently from the federal budget. Now, this just passed the House. It will go to the Senate. And some of the concerns that senators were still voicing, kind of similarly to some of their House colleagues who voted against this bill, have to do with some of these cuts to some of the public broadcasting programs like NPR and PBS. Lisa Murkowski was quoted saying that those are absolutely critical to some of her rural communities. So senators are having some of the same concerns that their more moderate counterparts in the House had with this bill. it kind of remains to be seen whether they have the votes for it over here in the Senate. But yeah, it legalizes and basically codifies Elon Musk's work with the government.
So there also were some issues with some Republicans about these cuts, so much so that some voted no. Others were kind of convinced by the speaker to change votes. Nick LaLota, the Republican of New York, was a no and then was a yes here. Why? I have to ask about NPR and PBS specifically. If the Senate passes this and President Trump signs it into law, no more federal funding for NPR or PBS. Have we ever seen that before? What would that mean for those organizations?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we've ever seen something to that magnitude before. And it would mean that millions of people no longer have access to those networks, to those channels. And that is a way that millions of Americans, especially those in rural communities, get their information. That's how they get their news. Millions of people subscribe to NPR, to PBS, listen to it every single day. So if Congress were to pass this rescissions package, and if the Senate passes it, then that would mean that those programs would be cut.
But to your point, not a done deal yet in the Senate. We'll just have to wait and see, right?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, Savannah Berman there with the National Journal. Always good to see you, Savannah. Talk soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're at the bottom of the hour. We want to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, though, we're going to walk you from the very beginning when this all unfolded between DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. She was speaking there alongside other federal officials at the FBI field office in Los Angeles. And then Senator Alex Padilla tried to interject, however you want to describe it. And you've watched the video, so you can make up your own mind whether it was an interruption, whether it was warranted, whatever. You've seen the video. We'll let you decide. And then we're going to hear from Padilla. He responded moments after. We also heard from Secretary Noem as well. Our colleague, Fox's Bill Maloogian, caught up with her almost immediately after the press conference. We're going to play that as well. And then more and more reaction on Capitol Hill, also from Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So we'll have all of that in store after the break. And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. So in our continuing coverage of so many of these anti-ICE demonstrations nationwide, remember this kind of battle royale that is playing out in the state of California between the state sovereignty, that issue, but also versus the federal government in the very act when President Trump federalized the state's National Guard, bypassing the governor completely. Usually and historically, how this goes is a state's governor requests from the federal government to do just that. That didn't happen in this case as these protests broke out. Well, speaking of this issue that's now going to be litigated in federal court, we do have a live picture, live vantage point outside the very courthouse where it is being litigated. So a judge heard arguments today between both sides. Remember, what was that? Tuesday, the Newsom administration asked for an emergency temporary restraining order. That was denied. And then the judge in the case said he wanted to hear more fully fleshed out arguments. He set that date for today. And so if we do get some type of ruling on that, we'll make sure to bring it to you. So not entirely sure if that's expected today, but if it is, we'll bring it to you. All right, in the meantime, like I said, though, we do have to kind of walk back into the afternoon, get you up to speed on this moment. Let's watch it yet again. As you can see there, Senator Alex Padilla, the Democrat from California, forcibly removed there from this press conference today at the FBI field office in Los Angeles' headquarters after he tried to interject into this press conference with DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. So this is reverberating not only there in California, but also on Capitol Hill. Our colleague, Fox's Matt Finn, has this, that the FBI says Alex Padilla was not wearing a Senate pin and did not identify himself when he walked into Secretary Noem's presser today. The FBI says Padilla was, quote unquote, disruptive while formal remarks were given. Once the senator was identified, he was released. Now, Padilla says he did identify himself. He spoke outside headquarters there after this melee there. We want you to listen to that in case you haven't heard it. Let's watch.
afternoon.
Thanks for your time. Line of sight, guys. Line of sight. We're right here already. Line of sight, guys.
Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Never put your hand on me.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. You guys have some questions. I'm going to read a brief statement. I will not be taking questions, but allow me to read my statement. I'm here in Los Angeles today, and I was here in the federal building, in the conference room, awaiting a scheduled briefing from federal officials as part of my responsibility as a senator to provide oversight and accountability. While I was waiting for the briefing with General Guillot, I learned that Secretary Noem was having a press conference a couple of doors down the hall. Since the beginning of the year, but especially over the course of recent weeks, several of my colleagues have been asking the Department of Homeland Security for more information and more answers on their increasingly extreme immigration enforcement actions. And we've gotten little to no information in response to our inquiries. And so I came to the press conference to hear what she had to say, to see if I could learn any new additional information. And at one point, I had a question. And let me emphasize, just as we've emphasized the right for people to peacefully protest and to stand up for their First Amendment rights, for our fundamental rights. I was there peacefully. At one point, I had a question. And so I began to ask a question. I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room. I was forced to the ground, and I was handcuffed. I was not arrested. I was not detained. I will say this. If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country. We will hold this administration accountable. And we'll have more to say. We'll have more to say in the coming days. Let me say just briefly in Spanish as well.
Okay, so Senator Alex Padilla there, growing visibly emotional, talking about his experience with what happened, what transpired this afternoon. You've seen the video by now, but this was Secretary Kristi Noem of DHS. Our colleague Fox's Bill Malugin caught up with her also in the immediate aftermath of this. And here's what she said. Let's listen.
Give us your initial reaction to what room with Senator. I understand you met with, did over?
Oh, I did. We sat down. We had probably a 10, 15-minute conversation about some of his concerns. And I thought it was really beneficial that more of our elected officials, I talked to him about the fact that I've left voicemails for Governor. He doesn't return. Mayor Baz has had conversations with the White House, but not with me to express concern. Operations, what they look like here in LA, and numbers, information we can get him. He was especially concerned about prosecutions that I'll turn over to the Department of Justice. But, he and I are probably not going to agree 90% of things. But we both had left that room recognizing that if conversations that will get to better results. And there was a few things in there we agreed on. And I've informed him on the president's opinion and the president's executive authorities that he's exercising. And I am glad we took the time to do it.
And what was he saying to you when you guys were in that room?
He just said that he wanted to ask some questions about our operations. He said everybody agrees that we should be going after criminals and those who perpetuate violence. We don't like to see what we see happen in here in LA as downtown activities. bothers me a little bit about it is that the leaders here in Los Angeles keep trying to act like the destruction we're seeing in LA is just a small little section and we shouldn't be concerned about it then. It's almost like they're saying it's okay if 10% of LA gets destroyed. Why do we not care about every single citizen here? Why would we not want to stop that violence from happening in downtown LA and make sure we're protecting those small business owners and those families too? So the president just really believes that this country is a country of laws. And the only way that we pursue opportunity and success is if everybody gets treated the same. We don't get to decide the law applies to this person, but not to this person. And you don't get to pick winners and losers. And that's what we're doing is enforcing the law. We really wish that these leaders here in California would partner with us rather than continue to spin up political rhetoric. So he and I exchanged phone numbers. We're going to continue to talk and we'll have conversations, and we may be as far apart on the political spectrum as possible, but we're all human beings and we all love this country, I hope.
And then last question, LA Mayor Karen Bass says what you guys are doing has to stop. Enforcement in LA has to stop.
I think it's sad that because our ICE officers are out there working every single day to get gang members and criminals off the streets and people that have been breaking our laws and violating our laws for a long period of time. It's a city of immigrants and we all love immigrants. This is a country of immigrants. We are trying to clean up the criminals and the people that have broken our laws and make sure that our border means something and that people that are here illegally, we want to get you right with the law. There's consequences for breaking our laws, but we want you to work with us so that you have the opportunity to come back, to live in this country and to pursue the American dream. So I served in Congress with Karen Bass, so I know her. And, she has led poorly as a mayor, but I would say that I'd still be willing to work with her if she wants to clean up her city.
Cool. No, you got a flight to catch. Anything else you want to add?
Well, we're going to go feed and spend some time eating, I think, McDonald's with our National Guard troops and with our military and some of our law enforcement officers. And that's the best part of my day is letting them know everywhere I go in this country, people tell me to thank them for what they do. So while it may seem like you turn on the news and it's contentious, or you're in LA and it's contentious, not in 98% of the rest of the country. The rest of this country says, man, it's about time. It's about time we have a president that really believes in restoring peace. We want peace and we want success and we want America to be safe again.
All right, so there you have it. Our colleague there, Fox's Bill Malhusian, interviewing DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. I want to put this up. Take a look at this. This is how Governor Gavin Newsom responded, saying if they can handcuff a U.S. senator for asking a question, imagine what they will do to you, with a photo there of Senator Padilla on the ground. You see there being handcuffed momentarily. But according to Padilla, he said he was not detained. He was not arrested. But wow, that photo there. All right, in the meantime, we got to exit LA very quickly. Got to go out to the Windy City there in Chicago. Live picture over Chicago. Well, more anti-ICE demonstrations taking place there live right now as we speak. And our friend and colleague, Fox 32 Chicago reporter, Casey Cronus, she's in the middle of it. She's joining me. Casey, thanks so much for being with us here. Like I said, you're in the middle of it. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Hey, Andrew, that's right. It's always great to chat with you. Right now, we are marching with these protesters in the heart of downtown on Wacker Drive, and they are heading toward Trump Tower. This rally began around 4 o'clock local time, about an hour, 45 minutes ago, near Michigan Avenue and Ida B. Wells. That's right outside of our Grant Park. They proceeded to do a speaker series with various people condemning the ICE raids happening in LA and the ICE operation that we saw last week here in the city's South Loop. After back south and ending their march and rally in Grant Park. Now, this protest, this march has gotten bigger and bigger as it has come up Michigan Avenue, seemingly more people joining. There are hundreds of people. It's hard to see the end of it, perhaps even more than 1,000. But I will say this is extremely organized. It's being done in a sort of rolling fashion in terms of street closures, with Chicago police officers on bicycles marching along with the crowd on either side of them. So those bikes are almost acting as a fence, and the protesters are in the center of the street. So far, no arrests, no major issues that we've seen. The officers are closing down streets up ahead, again in that rolling fashion, and diverting traffic. That is the latest here in Chicago, Andrew.
All right, Casey Cronus there. Casey, in lieu of some questions, I'll let the live pictures speak for themselves. Always good to see you, Casey, and stay safe here. So yet another major demonstration going on in yet another major city nationwide. We do have the live picture, we say raw here, without Casey there in the shot. Take a look at this. So according to Casey, you just heard her say, this was planned, this was permitted. Police are on scene. She couldn't really get a accurate kind of head count as to how many protesters are there. You also see the Gazan flag, the Palestinian flag. That's somewhat of a key symbol that we have seen even amidst some of these anti-ICE demonstrations, kind of an amalgam, a consortium of some of these more left-wing causes. But the march continues. Police flanking the sides of the street there on the sidewalk. And this is what it's about, a peaceful demonstration and peaceful assembly here. But we'll keep an eye on it in case things get a little tense, get a little hairy, as we have over the course of almost the last week in not only Chicago, not only Los Angeles, but places like Dallas, Austin, Boston, New York, and so many places here. So in the meantime, we got to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going back to Capitol Hill for more reaction from lawmakers on the video that everyone is talking about, that moment when Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed from that press conference in Los Angeles today. You'll hear it when we come back.
Yeah, man. I don't know with Alex Padilla, man. Why would you interrupt her? Because the Q&A is towards the end. So, man, it seems like a propaganda. And now all this Democrat are trying to Democrat leftist agenda. New York, Chicago. Yeah, this is civil unrest. And man, you guys have your time with Joe Biden. So, man, come on now. Let's work together here. Let's work together. Can we do a bipartisan, and not just even bipartisan, because there's other parties. So I don't know how big the other parties are, but come on now. Let's stop being political right now and come together. United we stand, divided we fall. So, yeah. If we're not going to be United States of America, who are we going to be? So 10 people that's here, thank you for coming. I don't know where you guys from, but I want to appreciate you. I don't even know how many likes we have right now, but I mean, my live didn't go down. I mean, it did probably go down to now it's 8. But yeah, I just want to keep you guys updated with this. And thank you, Fox News, for bringing this. And now he's back. Let's do this.
Afternoon. So just kind of a preview of what's in store for the rest of the later afternoon, early evening hours. We do have the Congressional picnic live at the White House. We're told that's going to be starting at the top of the hour. But like I said before the break, got to get back out to Capitol Hill. House Speaker Mike Johnson reacting not only to the passage in the House of these cuts that DOJ has made, codifying them in a piece of legislation, he was also reacting, responding, and commenting to the video we've all seen by now of Senator Alex Padilla being forcibly removed there from that press conference in LA. Let's listen.
We are fulfilling the promises we made to the American people. We're going to be better stewards of that. All of this towards priorities that truly benefit the American people. This is a long time overdue. We just had an important vote here on the floor. Today's passage of this initial rescissions package marks a critical step towards a more responsible and transparent government that puts the interest of the American taxpayers first. We want to thank DOJ for their heroic and patriotic efforts. That work led to this. This package eliminates $9.4 billion in unnecessary and wasteful spending at the State Department, USAID, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which funds politically biased media outlets like NPR and PBS. It's just one of the ways that Republicans are codifying DOJ's findings and putting taxpayer dollars to better use. There'll be more of this in the days ahead. We had hoped our Democrat colleagues would join us in this effort. It's an important one. All we're trying to do is ensure that every dollar spent by the federal government is used efficiently and effectively. But rather than expressing concern over the misuse and misspending of funds, our Democrat colleagues have another idea. They have instead chosen to oppose these reforms simply because Republicans are leading the charge. While they defend the failed toxic status quo, Republicans will continue to deliver real accountability and restore fiscal discipline. As has been said many times with this administration, President Trump's leadership, and here with Republicans in the House and the Senate, it's about promises made and promises kept, and we'll continue doing that.
Mr. Speaker, did federal agents go too far the way they treated Senator Padilla today? Was that a bridge too far?
I saw the same video, a very brief video that I think many people did. I think the senator's actions, my view is it was wildly inappropriate. You don't charge a sitting cabinet secretary, and everybody can draw their own conclusions. You can see it's a heated debate here.
People heckling you here, Mr. Speaker?
I'm not going to respond to that. Let me just, hold on, wait just a second. I think the American people can draw their own conclusions. They saw a senator acting like wildly inappropriate. I'll leave it at that.
But what about the way he was treated by those agents?
What I saw was agents asking him to quieten down so that the secretary could continue her press conference. He refused to do so. What were they supposed to do? They have to restrain someone who is engaging in that kind of behavior. They moved him out of the room.
Throw him to the ground, handcuff him.
A sitting member of Congress should not act like that. It is beneath a member of Congress. It is beneath a U.S. senator. They're supposed to lead by example, and that is not a good example. We have to turn the temperature down in this country and not escalate it. The Democrat Party is on the wrong side. They are defending lawbreakers, and now they are acting like lawbreakers themselves. And I think
oversight.
That's oversight, charging a cabinet secretary in a press conference. I beg to differ. I think that people do as well. I think those actions speak for themselves.
Do you have anything to say about lowering the temperature in the country right now? What would you
Scott, I have things to say about lowering the temperature all the time. I am very consistent in this. We have been trying to do this since I was handed the gavel in before. I founded the Honor and Civility Caucus in the Congress, for crying out loud, when I got here in 2017. I think that we should act according to our offices. We have a duty and a responsibility to set a tone, an example in our actions. And I encourage every member of this body to do it in the House and Senate. We have to turn the temperature down. We need to be on the side of the rule of law. We need to be on the side of law and order. We need to be on the side of calm and not chaos. And when members go into these settings and act this way, that when they push law enforcement agents around, when they storm cabinet secretaries in a press conference, I think it is wildly inappropriate behavior, and I think it sets a terrible message and tone for the rest of the country.
Will there be an investigation? Will there be a House investigation?
This is a Senate side issue, but I certainly hope that behavior is not repeated over here. We already.
Officer for this branch of
I am.
This
Yes.
affects all members, whether they be in the House or Senate. You're the Speaker of the House.
Yes.
The constitutional office.
Over there, and we do ours over here. We have a certain set of measures, as you all know, and it ranges from censure to removal from committees to ultimately expulsion from the body.
And do you support that for the senator?
It's not my decision to make. I'm not in that chamber, but I do think that it merits immediate attention by their colleagues over there, and that they need. I think that behavior at a minimum is it rises to the level of a censure. I think there needs to be a message sent by the body as a whole that is not what we are going to do. That's not how we're going to act. We're not going to have branches fighting physically and having senators charging cabinet secretaries. We got to do better, and I hope that we will. But I want to say this is a good day for the House chamber. The first rescissions package is now passed through the House. I expect it'll pass through the Senate. I expect our one big beautiful bill will continue to be processed as it is, and that we'll get it back and get it done on a tight schedule. I'm still trying to meet our July 4th deadline so we can have a celebration on Independence Day. And having good legislation passed will put everybody in a better mood. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Will you meet with the CHPC?
Okay, so you were listening there to House Speaker Mike Johnson saying that this was not an appropriate way for a member of Congress to act. He said it was wildly inappropriate when asked and pressed repeatedly about whether the House would take any action. You heard there Speaker Johnson essentially replied that this is a Senate matter for the other chamber, the upper chamber of Congress here. So wanted to make sure you heard that live picture there outside Capitol Hill. In the meantime, many prominent Democrats from the California House delegation, led by Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, speaking out on the Padilla incident. Let's listen.
The beginning of the outrageous, lawless action being undertaken by this administration and the abuse of the people of California by abusing the senior senator from California has us outraged and speaking out. I'd now like to ask our Speaker Emerita to say something brief.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you for bringing us together. I associate myself with your remarks and already add that this assault on Senator Padilla today was an assault on freedom of speech in our country. These thugs who manhandled the senator probably don't know it's a federal offense to attack a member of Congress. But that's not what it's about. It shouldn't be anybody in our country to be treated this way. So when we speak out for Senator Padilla, we're speaking out for everyone who has a right to speak. How about it? It goes to a Trump administration press conference, seeks clarification, and gets thrown to the ground by thugs. This is just absolutely wrong. Just absolutely wrong. We want everyone to know that we see it wrong, not just for a senator or a member of Congress, but for every person in our country. I'm so glad that our delegation, which is so strong, 43 Democrats strong in California out of 52, stand in solidarity with Senator Padilla, but stand in solidarity with everyone who wants to ask a question of our government about their safety. I yield back.
Jimmy Gomez.
I think everyone is definitely shaken up, but extremely angry about what just occurred. And because we've seen this situation, that this administration, Donald Trump, is outside the bounds of the law, outside the bounds of the court, outside the bounds of custom and practice, and he will not stop in just Los Angeles. He's not going to stop in California. He's going to go to every state of the union to show that he is not controlled by our Constitution. And if people think that it's only in California, they are mistaken. And what we've seen is that this administration with their ICE raids, not going after criminals. I don't know MS-13 gang members that work at a car wash during the day or a day laborer site during the day or at a restaurant during the day. That's who he said he would go after. But who is he going after? He's going after a mom who's doing her yearly check-in in the courts and her kids, and then deporting them to Texas and separating them. A little girl who has cancer treatment, and the only place you can get it is here. People should be pissed off, not just because of them, but what it means about our country, where we're heading. And we're heading down a dark, dark path. Something that is, in my imagination, never thought we would reach. But this is where we are. And if they can do that to a member of Congress from New Jersey, a senior senator who was shouting at the top of his lungs,
Where you from?
Senator Alex Padilla. His office is also in that federal building. So he had a right to be there, but they're going to make something up to justify probably an indictment of that senator. And what we want to know, we were going to ask for and demand is that Kristi Noem come before Congress and testify about what occurred today.
What's up, Arkansas?
Because if it can happen to Alex, it can happen to any of those senators on the other side or any member of Congress or anybody. So I want to just stress.
Thank you, Mark, for
we're not
coming.
going to give up.
How's the
We're not
weather
gonna be
there in
intimidated.
Arkansas?
We're not going to be coward. We're going to keep fighting for our communities. And I know the Trump administration saying the word fight is some kind of declaration. and it is a declaration, is that we're not going to give up, and we're going to stand up for one another, because too much is at stake. And I want everybody to know that we're calling on all Americans to stand up, because when is it going to be enough? When is it going to be enough? When somebody gets shot in the streets of Los Angeles? When a member gets shot?
Oh man, he's having a fright. Oh man, soapbox right now.
This is a continuing pattern of
It's raining there in
authoritarian
Arkansas. Now
dictatorship
it's raining.
behavior. They go into communities to disrupt restaurants and workplaces, masked in unmarked cars
Not
to
just,
separate
acting like
families,
that guy.
people with no criminal background. They call in the National Guard without the consent or the authority of the governor of California. They call in unprepared Marines who are not trained in the civil de-escalation tactics with weapons. This is an outrage. This is authoritarian behavior that is spreading throughout the nation. It is a poison. It is a cancer. This is something that needs to end. We need to stand, everybody, as Americans against this authoritarian dictatorship, because if it's not us, it's going to be you. It's going to be you in your neighborhoods. We are outraged for the way they treated the senator of California. Californians will stand with our senator. I will stand with our senators. We will fight till the very end until this authoritarian regime is done and over, and nobody will stand in our way. And we.
Thank you. Luz Rivas, California's 29th district. I was horrified and furious by what happened by our senior senator, Alex Padilla, not just because he's our U.S. senator, because he's my childhood friend. I've known Alex for 35 years or so. He's a mentor of mine. The reason I'm here in Congress. It immediately checked in with his wife and family to see. I just care about him as a friend too. But he grew up with me. He's from my neighborhood. We went to high school together. We went to college together. Not just because he's a U.S. senator. End to this. Thank you.
As chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, we're here. I'm from New York, but we're here together.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, Senator Padilla was not only stopped from expressing his opinion, he was assaulted. He was assaulted. Anybody that sees the video will see that he was aggressively assaulted and thrown on the ground for simply just wanting to express his opinion or ask a question. The censoring of dissent will put this democracy and has put this democracy in danger. We want a fast and full investigation on the assault of Senator Alex Padilla.
Yes.
That's what we want. We want those people that assaulted him to be looked at and to be arrested. He was assaulted, thrown into the ground simply for wanting to express his opinion, and the Congressional Hispanic Caucus falls fully behind him at this time. Leader Jeffries.
Senator Schiff and Leader Jeffries, please come down here.
I think all of us are still in some state of shock over the video that we just watched a half an hour ago of one of the most respected leaders in all of the Congress, Alex Padilla, a person of just unquestioned integrity, someone who has brought great compassion for the people of our state and country to the U.S. Senate. To see him abused that way, to see him brought down to the ground, to see him go to a press conference to ask questions, which is not only his right, but his obligation, and to be mishandled that way. This is an assault not only on the person of Alex Padilla, but it's an assault on our democracy. This is a administration that has no respect for our democracy, for our institutions, for the separation of powers, for a co-equal branch of government. It has no respect for the people of California. This is a president who would call in military troops against the wishes of our own government when it would only inflame the matter. And now this terrible abuse of this wonderful public servant. One of the things that I treasure about the U.S. Senate is you can come from anywhere, you can start from anywhere, and you can end up in the U.S. Senate. And no one better embodies that part of the American dream and the dream of our democracy than Alex Padilla. And there he is, going to this press conference to advocate for those who are most vulnerable, to ask the questions that need to be answered, like what is the basis under the law or Constitution to, over the objection of the governor, to federalize the Guard to be used against our own people in California? What is the lawful basis, if any, for that action? And if not, what should the consequences be? I understand why Secretary Noem doesn't want to answer these questions, because she can't. But it is Alex Padilla's job to ask those questions and to demand those answers. And we are proud of him. We are proud of him. We are proud of his courage and his steadfastness and his vigorous representation of the people of California. And we cherish his voice, and we will not let this stand. Thank you.
Democrat Peter Jeffries.
The Trump administration is a disgrace. Secretary Noem is a disgrace. The manhandling of Senator Alex Padilla was a complete and total disgrace. Senator Padilla is a good man, a decent man, a patriotic man, and a hardworking man. He's the very embodiment of what a United States senator should represent in this great country of ours, anchored in the principle of self-government. He was at that press conference doing his job, asking questions about what is taking place in California, the state that he represents, and on behalf of the American people. And he was recklessly and aggressively manhandled. That was unacceptable. It was unconscionable. It was unpatriotic. It's un-American. And every single person who was involved in manhandling Senator Padilla should be held accountable to the full extent of the law. So this is not going to end until there is accountability and until the Trump administration changes its behavior. This administration is not about law and order. It's about lawlessness and disorder. And that's what we've seen from day one of the Trump administration. When Donald Trump pardoned hundreds of violent felons who brutally assaulted the Capitol right behind us. Day one, this administration has been about lawlessness and disorder, and we see a continuing escalation of it. And we're going to make sure that we push back aggressively in every way possible to hold those individuals accountable who, without justification, manhandled Senator Alex Padilla. I'm here today as House Democratic leader to make it clear. We stand with Senator Padilla. We stand with the California delegation. We stand with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and we stand with the American people.
Amen.
All right, the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, calling President Trump, calling Secretary Noem a disgrace over this matter that happened there, and you've seen it on video by now. We had it on loop there of the manhandling. Those were Hakeem Jeffries' words of Senator Alex Padilla. In the meantime, former Vice President Kamala Harris also responded on social media. She says U.S. Senator Alex Padilla was representing the millions of Californians who are demanding answers to this administration's actions in Southern California. This is a shameful and stunning abuse of power. So, Capitol Hill history and trivia for you. Kamala Harris, when she was tapped to be Joe Biden's running mate in 2020, the vacancy that was left open was filled by Senator Alex Padilla, the successor to Harris in the Senate. Okay, in the meantime, we're going to step away from this story. We have really covered it from all angles thoroughly, comprehensively. We have the time to do that, and we take the time to do that here on Live Now. On a lighter note, we got to stay on Capitol Hill, though, because as you know, maybe you don't, last night was the annual Congressional baseball game. And so we do want to end some of this on a lighter note, although if you're a fan of baseball, it was Republicans versus Democrats there. I believe from the House, Republicans really gave the Democrats a rout. In baseball, last night, this is always played at Nats Park. So the NRCC, that's the main campaign fundraising arm for House Republicans, say this: 5 straight victories over Democrats in the Congressional baseball game for charity proves what we already knew. Republicans are winners who get things done for America. So kind of a gloating victory lap there from the NRCC. You see there Representative August Pfluger of Texas, the Republican on the team. He said, proud to have been selected MVP for this year's Congressional baseball game. He says, couldn't have asked for a better support team here in D.C. Another huge win for Republicans. So Congressman Pfluger there, the MVP of last night's game. Do we have this? Democrats only 2 bases scored, 2 runs rather. In the meantime here, let's show you this because speaking of Congress, the White House will be hosting very soon the Congressional picnic, the summer picnic there for members of Congress and their families. Now, there was also somewhat of a sideshow to this because about this time last night, the senator from Kentucky, oh, speak of the devil, there is Rand Paul. Let's listen. Okay, so I'm only bringing up Rand Paul because according to Senator Paul last night in somewhat of a on-camera diatribe outside the Capitol last night around this time, he said that he was not invited, or rather uninvited, to the Congressional picnic. Well, this was the message from President Trump on Truth Social just today, and Senator Paul reposted it. Take a look at this. He says, this is a promising sign of things to come, and if there's one thing POTUS and I agree on, it's that my wife is beautiful. So if we could take that post full, this is what the president said this morning on Truth Social, saying, of course, Senator Rand Paul and his beautiful wife and family are invited to the big White House party tonight. He's the toughest vote in the history of the U.S. Senate, but why wouldn't he be? Besides, it gives me more time to get his vote on the great, big, beautiful bill, one of the greatest and most important pieces of legislation ever put before our senators and congressmen and women. It will help to make America great again. I look forward to seeing Rand. The party will be great. Let's take this back live. You see there, turns out my grandson is actually invited to the Congressional picnic. He is ready. So you saw there the camera pan over to Senator Rand Paul and his family. It does look like the doors to the White House have opened. We're waiting for President Trump, I believe, and the First Lady as well to just deliver brief remarks. Just kind of some of the background of this. Of course, we have reported here on Live Now, Senator Rand Paul has been historically opposed to the president's tariff policies. And also he has been for quite some time a no on the president's quote unquote big, beautiful bill. And presumably that may have been why he was uninvited to the picnic. Some were saying that that disinvitation came at the hands of White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, and then was reversed quickly thereafter this morning. President Trump issuing that post on Truth Social saying, please, we hope you come to the summer picnic there, Senator Paul and family. Okay, we do have a little different shot here of Senator Paul and his family. So he seems to be the belle of the ball, or belle of the picnic, I should say, because of this kind of side story that was playing out in relation to the picnic. So a lot of these events happening this week in Washington as we get into the outset of the summer. You see there Rand Paul through the buffet line on the White House lawn. Okay, don't want to miss it. Remember, we're expecting President Trump and the First Lady to make brief remarks here. So in lieu of going to commercial, we're going to hold tight here. And you can see the first couple coming out. Let's listen.
Well, thank you very much. This is a beautiful day. It's a little warm, but that's the way we like it. And this is beautiful Republicans and beautiful Democrats. We have them both. And it's nice to mention them in the same breath, frankly. And I'm delighted to welcome all of the members of the House and Senate and your beautiful families. A great honor to have you at the White House and to the annual White House Congressional Picnic. A long time it's been going on. I want to thank our magnificent First Lady for putting together this wonderful evening. There are too many friends, frankly, to mention all of them. We have so many of our congressmen, and we have some senators in here. I have to tell you, they snuck in, but that's okay. They wanted to be here. But I just want to thank all of you, and I want to, in particular, thank Speaker Mike Johnson. He's doing an incredible job. And all of our other colleagues on both sides of the aisle for your service to America. That's what it is. It's service to America. For more than half a century, the White House Congressional Picnic has served as a special night for Republicans and Democrats to put politics aside, if that's possible. Is that possible? I think so, right? For at least about an hour, and come together with our families and give thanks and privilege to all of those people. And I want to really, in particular, thank all of the people that so beautifully serve our country. And that's exactly what you're doing. Everyone here works incredibly hard, and your loved ones, they make just these tremendous sacrifices, enormous sacrifices, frankly. And I want to thank you all. The exceptional dedication to our country is unparalleled. We're gathered at a truly exciting time for our nation. The USA is now the hottest country in the world. They just came back from the Middle East, and the King of Saudi Arabia and Qatar. We have a great leader of Qatar, as you probably know, and UAE, all leaders, great leaders, frankly, and they all said the same thing. They started it off. They said, America is the hottest country anywhere in the world, and it is. And if you think about it, 7 or 8 months ago, we were cold as ice. We weren't hot. We were a laughing stock, and now we're hot as can be. They all respect us. We actually came home, you'll be happy to hear, $5.1 trillion we brought back with us from the Middle East. So that's an all-time record by far. But the USA is now really on a path that's, I believe, unparalleled. Trillions of dollars of investment are pouring in. Incomes are soaring. Grocery prices are way down. Gasoline prices are way down. Energy prices are down. Mortgage rates are down. And inflation is down. Other than that, how are you doing, right? They've been talking to me. Do you think you can get prices down? We did it, every single one of them. And last month, we cut the trade deficit. You saw that 2 days ago. It was just announced. The trade deficit was cut in exactly half. And that was all done in a period of 4 months. So we've reduced the number of illegal border crosses, and you know that because you look at the numbers, and 99.999%. Last month, it was 3 people got across, 3. So I did a good job in 2016, but we did an even better job right now, and it's been amazing. We have to get a little cooperation for some people, but a lot of bad people were let into our country. We're getting them out, and we're getting them out fast, and I think you know that. They came from jails, prisons. They came from mental institutions, gang members. We're getting them out very fast. You're going to be very happy when you see the results. The recent months, we've even come together as a bipartisan basis and on a bipartisan basis with the help of our great First Lady to pass the Take It Down Act, protecting our youth from exploitation. And I want to thank you, Melania, and thank you, everybody out there. When I saw that bill pass bipartisan, I said, you know, I think you're going to take my job, Melania. You'll get a little we don't get so much bipartisan. So she didn't know why. She said, why is that? I said, there is no reason for it, but you did it. Congratulations. That's a great job. But as a result of these many other historic wins for the American people, a majority of Americans now believe our country is on the right track for the first time in over 28 years, according to a very prestigious poll. 28 years it has not been. And this is the first time in 28 years, and it'll only get better when the Senate passes the one big, beautiful bill and Congress sends it to my desk on the 4th of July. We're shooting for the 4th of July. I think it's going to be the most important piece of legislation that our country has passed in many, many years. On Saturday, we're coming together to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States Army with a grand parade, a military parade that I don't think we've ever seen the likes of what you're going to see. I hope the weather's okay, but actually, if it's not, that brings you good luck. And that's okay, too. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the tanks at all. It doesn't affect the soldiers. They're used to it. They're tough, smart. Next year, when we're all together again, we will be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the American founding. We founded our country. They founded our great people, our great past founders have done a fantastic job, and we'll be cheering on Team USA in the World Cup. So we have the World Cup coming, we have the Olympics coming, and maybe most importantly, we're going to celebrate a whole year, 250th anniversary. You know, the Army is exactly 1 year older than the country. So that was interesting. We did a speech yesterday at Fort Bragg, and it was really something, the display that they put on. I truly believe the great times are ahead for America. So once again, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank every single person in this group, Democrat, Republican, or a couple of independents out there. They say they're independent, but they're not that independent. But I want to thank everybody in the audience for being very special. I know every one of you, and some by reputation and some by just knowing them. And you're fantastic people, and you have great families. And without the families, it wouldn't work for you at all. So I just want to thank you very much for being here. Have a great night. We're going to have plenty of fun. Have a really fantastic night. And nobody's going to be cold tonight. You're going to be very warm tonight because it's a little on the hot side. But just enjoy yourself. And again, really happy birthday to a truly great country. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so the first couple there, President Trump and the First Lady, with that message to members of Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, and also a nod to independents there from the President in his message there for the Congressional picnic. Let's keep listening briefly. Let's keep watching. All right, so looks like we've lost visual there.
So thank you again. I was on mute. Was I on mute? Oh, I wasn't on stage, man. But yeah, thank you again for the people that came here. Mark from Arkansas. Who else? Teddy, Boy Alien, Daniel Berry, who else? Mr. Boji, Pepe, and all the new guys, Juan de la Cruz, Puri, Kurakawa, Truck worker, Yaku, regardless, Pete Harrington, Dashawn, Grandma, Smart G, Dan. Thank you for this is one of the longest live stream that I've done, and hopefully we can make America together again. And prayers to all the people that hurt and struggling as far as financially, emotionally. There's a lot of riots, raids, and all those stuff that's going on. But Boji, hey, come up, man. He said, let's go. Come up, bro. You want to talk and everything. I don't want YouTube to strike me for quoting too much of their stuff or Fox News. But Boji 2.2, come up, man. The link is there. If you want, I won't end yet because we'll show you this.
Integrate. Pero ano ka ba talaga? Double agent ka ba talaga o ano? Ano? Yun nga, tagpi-tagpi ka eh. Nire-record na kita eh, oh.
Okay, Boji.
2K24 daw, NBI live.
Boji, kakampi mo si Boji para meron kang kakampi, Brad. Boji, are you gonna back him up?
Hello? Walang signal, hindi ko marinig. Nasaan si Carla? Tuwan-tuwa si Carla sa joke na to. Hello?
Boji,
hello? Hello?
Pagkanya ka na.
Okay
Baka na kita, Joe.
Guys, baba na ako. Baba na ako. Okay, baba.
Boji, hey, you gotta prove to people na hindi ka puro salita rin, bro. Boji. Come on.
Go ahead, bro. My brother.
Sinasabi nila, alto ka ro, hindi mo daw minute si Joe Louis. Oh. So let's go, bro.
Alam mo ba ang bandito si Joe Louis, bro? Napaka-nice lahat na pinagsasabi niya dito, lalo sa disrespect kay Kuya Joseph, bro. Hinayahan pa rin ng mga yan na makano, bro. Alam mo kung bakit naiintindihan.
Okay, you gonna play with him.
It's hard. Sabi mo, mayaman ka. Aglin. Bayad kami ng $40.
Singil lang daw, singil lang. Singil bate. Bati na kayo, bati na. Bati na yan, wala na. Magbati. Bati na lang kayo. 18 years pala kayo. Hindi, wala. Wala yun. Wala na sigawan. Wala na sigawan, bati na. Kayo naman. Relax lang.
Mayaman ka, di ba?
Sir. Okay lang.
$40. Pinagyayabang mo sa YouTube, mayaman ka.
Manahimik ka na lang dyan. Manahimik ka.
Manahimik.
Ayos na kayo. Bati. Oo, wala na yan. Oo. Boss Teddy, nasaan ka na? Nahanap ko na si Selectable, oh. May Selectable, oh. Best friend na ulit kami. Oh, diba? DJ na siya ngayon, oh. Walang tao nga lang dito, oh. Teddy, let's go, man. Or, si JB, let's go, man. I'm waiting, man. We'll go live.
Well, I guess nobody wants to come up, and we'll end with this. We got a new song. It's a raw, brand new song. I just did it yesterday. Oh no, 2 days ago. Jerry, what's up, Jerry?
What can you say? You like it? Huh? You like it? Huh? Your turn. Your turn. Huh? Your turn. Your turn.
Sabihin ko yan. Ito naman. This light. Ewan ko naalala niyo to. Itong for viewers.
Put more gas in this light. This light. This light. I will make it shine. This light. This light. Put more gas in this light. This light. This light. I will make it shine. Oh, oh. Put more gas in this light. Put more gas in this light. This light. This light. I will make it shine. This light. This light. Put more gas in this light. This light. This light. I will make it shine. Oh,
Di ba? Kukunin mo.
put